It's Friday, October 27th, 2023. All right, let's start with our shill segment as usual. Patreon.com/Ozone Nightmare. You can also go to the show homepage, which I believe is still not updated yet to their new version. It is not. And on the right, you will see a list of rounded squares. The first one has a PayPal logo. That's a donate via PayPal. In fact, there's text that says exactly that right above it. The second link is the Patreon, which I've already mentioned. There is our Zazzle store, which probably I won't even bother maintaining. I don't know when the last time somebody bought anything from there is. I don't care. It doesn't cost anything. I'm just saying I don't know if there's a point. There's a book with a bookmark that will take you to Lando's Amazon author page. There's a picture of a skull, which I still haven't freaking updated. And that will take it to my Linktree with all my art links. And at the very bottom is the show's YouTube channel, where normally I say, well, there's stuff there, and I kind of just dump it there without any care. But all three of the John Carpenter retrospectives are there, and there will be a fourth video, which will be the last late night for the month, which is my Adobe Max review along with Ant Pruitt, photographer and the community manager over at Twit.tv. And I did make a YouTube video for that too, because apparently now I have a problem. So I can't.
No, it's called Evolving Hobbies.
It is, but I cannot do this for everything.
But do you pick and choose?
Yeah, I suppose I'll have to. I've had to upgrade the show's storage twice now.
Hey, look at it this way.
The shows take a long time.
At least we're not doing the video for this yet.
No. Although my wife had made that suggestion about puppets, so.
Oh yeah, and I had a thought
I've been
waiting. I've been waiting for that to come up again. Yeah.
Well, actually, because I did a couple of tests of trying.
Don't they have animation programs that'll just animate mouth movements?
Well, what I thought was, what if we were to do like memojis for it? Or, whatever the things are where it animates it.
Because it would look nothing like us, that's why. Because I'd be the devil,
number one,
and you'd
I
be
would
like...
have good hair. I'd have a nice hairline. But the thing is, I did a couple of tests. I talked for 15 minutes or so, moving my hands as if it was in a puppet.
Yeah.
And I start stuttering. Like, I start having a problem because...
You start cramping.
No, it's not the cramping. I start fixating on making sure my hand movements match my mouth movements so it doesn't look odd.
But you know what's funny? Most people won't even catch it. As long as you're close, most people won't catch it.
Yeah, but
have you ever watched people's mouths when they talk?
No, I know. It's not. I'm doing it now. Yeah. I'm doing it right now. I have my hand next to me, and I'm looking at it because it's bothering me.
Take your hands and put them in your pockets.
No, I don't talk that way. You know that. My hands don't stay still when I'm talking at all. That would be the most difficult thing to capture in any type of non-rotoscoped animation. Is it will never quite look right if my hands aren't all over the place, like Jeff Goldblum on a meth bender or something. It just doesn't look right. So, but the emoji thing, I thought, oh well, I can just put it on a stand and it can just be looking at me, and then I don't have to think about it because it's capturing my movements without me having to do something special.
Can you record that?
I think you can. I believe there is a way now. I don't think you used to be able to.
I think we should do a live show and just field questions.
People have asked that, and I didn't think you'd want to do it.
I will totally do a challenge where people can ask questions and see how long we can talk about it, so they can experience what the fucking whirlwind of like our like slipstream is like.
It's not difficult. I do a live stream every week. It's not like I don't know how to do it.
No, I know that. I'm just wondering if people would even be interested.
Well, people can tell us if they're interested. I have no problem because you can really do it on. We can either do it on YouTube or we could do it on Twitch. I don't care because the OBS setup I have will work on either one. So
I will go wherever Joe goes. So there you go.
I mean, we could even do it
on. It'd be
funny. Discord too. Oh, you're not on Discord, so we'd have to do it on the other one.
I'm nowhere.
Well, you are nowhere.
So I will be. I am nowhere. But I will be wherever I need to be.
Okay.
To be with you.
I mean, but you already have a YouTube account. You must.
Do I?
Don't you use YouTube for it? Don't your kids? Nobody uses it?
Nobody? No, fuck. You think I have a YouTube account? Nobody has a YouTube account.
No. I don't mean literally that you have like a YouTube video account, but you sign into a Gmail or a Google account, don't you? You have a Gmail account.
I have a Gmail, but I have
Well, then therefore you have a YouTube account. No, then you have a YouTube. No,
is it just automatic?
Yeah, it's like a portfolio of things that are attached. That's what I'm saying. Is all you would have to do is
irritating. I was really hoping not to have that. All right.
Well, okay. Don't worry. There's nothing. There is no data to be mined if you've never set it up. But what I'm saying is, all you would need is your Gmail account to be able to use YouTube Live with me.
I've noticed that I curse at my car more ever since I read that article about how the car is betraying me. I yell at my car so much now where I'm like, fucker. I was like, yeah, why'd you do that, you motherfucker? Like, I yell at my car like it's an adversary now. Don't get me wrong, I like my car, but when I'm driving, I tend to be more aggressive towards my car now because I consider it to be a turncoat. This is the problem with robots.
There are things in your life that are turncoats.
I know. It's everything. One day, if they ever have robots, I will be very aggressive toward my robot guardian, because I'll be like, I know you're just giving Apple all my information. It's like every time I ask you for help,
Well, I'm sure that there will be robots that are available that you pay more for, and they don't send any data back
on the black market. Those are the ones that might. Those are the ones that might kill you if their software goes wrong. Right?
All you have to do is cut off its access to the internet. And what's it going to report?
A former killbot that gets reprogrammed to be like an old person's like assistant machine. That'd be very funny.
Well, isn't that Raujin Z or however you pronounce it? Rojin Z, whatever that. Remember that anime? That. Did you ever see that one?
Rojin Z?
You never saw Rojin Z?
I don't think I.
That's an Odoma one. That's why I've seen it. It's the one about the old people and the robots. I mean, I don't think it's exactly what you're saying. I don't remember if they were Hold on. Were they ex-military? Wait a minute. They might be. I'm trying to remember. Rojin Z. Group of scientists under direction have developed a computerized hospital with robotic features. Hold on. I want to see. I don't know. Yes, a government-designed experimental weapons robot. Holy shit, they already did it.
Oh, there you go. See?
Yeah, so that's Raujin Z. I thought it might be. I couldn't remember what it was.
It's amazing how many thoughts one can have in a day that have already been realized into a full-length feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie if you've never seen it. I haven't watched that movie. Now I'll watch it again.
Now I will have to go check it out.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's an Otomo project, so it's got all of his wonderful designs. That's honestly why I watched it, ever initially, but it's actually very good. So
he was involved in the anime, or is he involved in the graphic novel?
I believe. Let's see. Hold on. He wrote it. He did not direct it, but it's got his. They used his art style.
Oh, okay.
So he wrote it.
So it's like
I don't
Akira.
know if it was.
Yeah.
This is one of the rare ones where I believe he only did the. Yeah, there was no manga for this. There was no.
Interesting.
This was a movie first. Yeah, I don't think it ever got made into a. No, it never got made into a comic.
Didn't feel like it.
Well, he did several like that. That might have been his first one, but he's done several where there was no comic in the first place. It was actually purely a visual one. Yeah.
Well, either way, yes. I'm more aggressive to my car.
Yeah.
Because my car is, not on my side.
But
honestly, as it goes on, is any of this technology on your side? Yeah.
That's true. Okay, I was going to say he didn't, because it said Metropolis that he was a writer. He did the screenplay. I knew that wasn't. He didn't come up with that. I knew that was,
Metropolis is that one.
That's the Astro Boy guy.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that did not look like Otomo. That looked
No,
like,
but when it said writer, I went, no, he didn't write that, but he did the screenplay. That makes sense.
What's funny?
Steam Boy is the one he
movie-
did that was essentially his version of that.
That movie has such great music too.
That's a really good movie.
It is a really good movie, but the music for that, it's one of those things. I haven't seen that movie in years. I still listen to the music from that movie.
Yeah.
There's a song of that. There's a really great song in there. I think it's called "Run." That's just got. It's just nice. I like to listen to that often. So.
Right. Yeah, the weirdest one that Otomo ever did was the Freedom Project, which was a collaboration with Cup of Noodles. But it's yes, he did. I think it was. I'm trying to remember the exact story because when they announced, I have the entire thing on Blu-ray. It's beautiful.
I shouldn't say that because fucking the Gorillaz did some kind of weird partnership with, I think it was the All Stars, the shoes, and they made some psychotic music video that is genuinely very creepy. It's like it's when they were trying to make everything look live action, because there's the thing with the Gorillaz where for a while it was all like the Tank Girl style, and then they were like, no, let's make it so we can make them real looking, and then they kind of started veering into this weird uncanny valley, like make the cartoons look alive, and then they kind of veered now away from it where they've just got the cartoons in like the real world, but now they're starting to get weird again. But yeah, so this was a video where like they had the cartoon people, but they were trying to make them look like real people, and it was just a weird looking. Yeah.
No, this was okay. This is what I thought it was. I knew it was the Cup Noodle thing. So basically, Cup Noodle had a 35th anniversary Nissan Cup Noodle, which I don't know if that's every cup noodle or if that's a particular brand. I don't know. I never ate a lot of, cup noodles, but they went to him and said, okay, and this is not uncommon. We just want to have our stuff splashed all over it. So I do remember the cup noodles thing is constantly shown in the anime, but it's a beautiful anime, and it was made in, it was recent, so it's really nice looking. And he and two other people wrote it, and it's in his style, which is why I care. It's not.
I suppose if you think about the way art used to function, like, in the 1500s,
sure,
where like essentially you were paid to make whatever people wanted you to make. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you were a pay-for-play artist. It makes sense. They had the money. They said, can you make this thing? We want this in there. And he thought, you know what? I think I can do that and still make it the way I want to make it.
Well, I will, anybody who didn't know about this, and I'll just going to warn you, the story is not, it's fine. It's not, I'm just being honest. It's certainly no Akira. Let's put it like that.
That is. It's almost a damning review. It's not that because it's the whole. It's not. It's bad. It's not like no. You know what? It's fine. Like that's.
Well, it is. But
how many stars? How many stars out of 5 is fine? Is that 3?
No, dead center. No.
Are you kidding me? 2.5. 2.5 is not fine. 2.5
is
the
out
wrong
of 5.
Side of almost shitty.
No. I'm sorry. I disagree. Not on 5. That's 50%.
3.
That's dead
3 is fine. For me,
no,
3 is fine. 2.5
okay,
is almost
you know what?
shitty.
No, you're right. So I would have to say 3 because I was about to say what makes it worth seeing is his design work is exceptional as always. So he did all the mechs.
Yeah.
And it's in his style, and it's very, very good.
Cup of noodle mechs? Jeez, I got to see this.
No, they're not. No, it's not that bad. It's not like they're splattered with cup noodle stickers or a giant cup noodle that somebody's driving with noodles flying out. No, they're regular. They're actual mechs. Because the kid's like a racer.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is the story.
Yeah, listen. Remember how many branding stickers popped up in Akira?
Oh, no, on the bike. But what I'm saying is when you think of what I'm talking about, you might think, oh, it's way over the top, but it's really not. Here, I'll send you a picture. This is actually a really.
His design work is up.
Oh, here's a great one.
No, go ahead, send it away.
So, wow, somebody made an actual. I should get this toy. That's a nice figure. Let me see. Does that work? Yeah, there you go. That's one of them. But yeah, there's no.
Oh, that's like weirdly Speed Racer-ish,
isn't it? That's what I'm saying. So, and the thing is, it's in all of the characters are his style. So that's what I'm saying is the story is not going to do anything for you it's not anything you haven't seen, but it's his. You're looking
at moving art. Is basically what you're doing,
right? And there's a picture where they're eating out of cup noodles, which are very clearly branded as cup noodles. So yeah, but his design ethics and his style are still exceptional, so it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like you're still getting something really good. I mean, You know what? I don't think they ever put out an art book for this, which is a shame. Because when you see images like this, you're like, oh man, come on, where's the art book? But I don't think they ever did. But no, his design work is still so good, it doesn't matter. So that's what would make it a 3 as opposed to a 2.5. You're right.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to have visual beauty, even if the story is by the numbers. You know, it's essentially Megazone 23, except recontextualized for the moon, more or less. And people who get that will get that, and you'll know what I mean. Megazone 23 did it way earlier, way better, although with a high variation in art style. That is about the only negative to Megazone 23
that is
those styles change. Yeah. No, hey, would you like a cup noodle? Have a cup noodle. I'm saying laid out pictures with cup noodles featured. Sorry, go ahead.
I did not know that Atomo did that, but it does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when they... Oh, man, it just reminded me of when they put that big billboard in the Batman game. Was it in the Batman game or was it in the Matrix game? And then they took it down.
I think it was the Matrix game.
Yeah, and then they realized it was, they were being branding horse, so they took it down. Yeah. And then they got more clever, when they made it.
Well, listen, in a streaming world, eventually what they're going to just do is have green screen billboards, and they'll just change it every time you watch it, depending on who paid for that year. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, if it's not already... there's already constant editing happening, which people are whining about.
I'm surprised that you can't get... So they won't do it yet, but at some point in the future, you're going to either get subsidized clothing with major banners on them. Like, because right now, they haven't done that yet, because right now people will still pay to wear a shirt that says Nike across it, right?
This is very funny that you said this, because in the next late night, as part of the Adobe review that we did of Max, one of the things that they showed at Max was something called... What was the clothing called? They showed essentially e-ink clothing. And so, yes, that is going to happen. It will absolutely happen.
The joke is that right now people will still pay good money to be a billboard, right? At some point or another, maybe we'll get to a point where we're like, no, fuck you. I'm not going to be your billboard. You pay me. At which point we'll start having subsidized clothing.
Listen, let me tell you something.
This T-shirt is slightly less because you're a big, billboard.
I would happily advertise for certain companies. I would do it in a heartbeat if they were subsidizing the clothing. Why not? If it was like Canon, I love Canon cameras. That's also something Ultimo has done commercials for, right? I would do that.
Yes, you would. Logitech, so you would be a billboard. There you go.
Logitech, if you'd like to sponsor my clothing, feel free. Okay, here it is. What is this clothing called? What is it called? I'm looking at the video of it. What did they call this? Oh, I'm going to turn closed captions on. This was called... Come on, captions.
The end of civilization as we know it.
It's a very prototype dress, because you can tell that they haven't miniaturized it properly, and it's monochrome, which is why I call it.
Listen. The flip side of this is the second they invent it, someone's going to figure out how to hack it, and then all hell's going to break loose. It'll be hilarious. You'll start. You'll have people. You know what? Imagine if you had a coat that could constantly play a movie all over it. Yeah. You could decide what movie you wanted to play on your jacket.
Well, that's what it is. All right, hold on. Yeah. I'm waiting for the closed captions, which are hysterical because they're talking about parrot fashion. I think they meant Paris fashion, but it says parrot because the closed captions. Primrose. That's what it's called. Project Primrose. So if anybody wants to see what I'm talking about, that's what it's called. And it's basically an e-ink dress, and this woman tries it out. And when you look at it, what it looks like is dragon scales, because each of these is a little... Well, I guess it's a square turned sideways. It's a diamond shape.
Oh, I see it.
You see it?
That's not very good looking. Yeah.
But well, because it's Gen 1. So that's where I said in 3-4 years, what is this going to be? Because it's animated depending on what you're doing. So
I want to see that as like a jacket or a trench coat. That'd be neat.
Well, you will. Once it gets miniaturized enough, it will be.
Yeah.
What I want it for is like a laptop case where I can just change the artwork on it, especially if it's e-ink because it's so low power. It's a static image, so I could change that because I'm constantly, every time I buy a new laptop case, I have to buy new stickers for it and very, specifically center them and put them into place. If it's just that, I could just have a template. It'd be so much easier. I would love to have something like that. So that's what I want, is something like a case. Or, your car's shell. You want it to be purple today?
You miniaturize it enough, that could just be your monitor.
Sure. Put it on your glasses. That's your sunglasses. Googly eyes sunglasses that follow people around. Ooh. So anyway, that's a preview. We'll be talking about that among other things in that late night.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because anytime you see an improvement in technology, there's always this part of you that's like, that's really cool because of this. And you're like, and that really sucks because of this. You know? Yeah, it's kind of glum. Maybe that's just, I guess it's burning out. You know what I mean? Like where you look at that. Like, I'm reading that, I'm at it's not novelization. I'm reading that novel that takes place in the Cyberpunk 20, what the fuck is the year on that thing? The Cyberpunk game. 2077. I'm reading the novel that takes place in the Cyberpunk 2077, which is honestly like watching a B movie of Neuromancer. That's what it feels like.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's not that it's not poorly. It's not that it's bad. It's just not.
But that's what that game is. That game is basically a buffet of sci-fi or cyberpunk tropes thrown together.
So it's enjoyable in that respect. But the joke of it is that when you think of classic cyberpunk, where the head jacks and the virtual reality and all this shit, I look at that stuff now, like especially Neuromancer. What's fascinating about Neuromancer is how benign Gibson's vision of corporations and media was. Because if you really think about it, and that's why to some degree I love Neuromancer, but I'm beginning to steer towards Snow Crash a little bit more as being a more sober view of things, because I think Stevenson was more suspicious of what would be done with the technology. You know what I mean? And in Stevenson's vision, the future now, it's much more, it's become, the technology itself has become a virus that can get in your head.
Well, you know that, I mean? And one thing, because Gibson feels like he's still very rooted in the meat space version of Malevolence, which is it's all in physicality. It's not much the technology side. Whereas Stevenson
today
very ahead got with the thing of like Mr. Lee's Hong Kong, where you would be in. I mean, that's what they're talking about with the Great Firewall of the Internet. Well, that's essentially Mr. Lee's Hong Kong. I mean, it's the same idea of siloed off areas where you need a technology pass to get in or out. I mean, we're in that.
Yes, and honestly, it's become like magic and voodoo is really what it is. I mean, if you really went to a kind of cyberpunk today, the fear is that the fear is the technology getting in your head. The fear is the software, the advertising, the relentless desire to turn everything into capital, to monetize everything, to find a way to turn anything into something that you can monetize and make money off of, right? You take that and you lay that into that cyberpunk idea today. And yes, you'll always have people fighting it the same way you have people fighting it today. They're going to invent this e-ink clothing and someone will use it for advertising and somebody else will figure out how to place Blade Runner on it, right? Or honestly, Doom is really what it is. They'll figure out how to run Doom on it first. Because that's what they always do, right? But the thing, there's the tug of war. Whereas the more I see the movement of technology in the modern day, and the more I go back to the Neuromancer and I listen to the audiobook stuff, like I realize that it's such a benign vision of just how bad things could get. As bad as it gets there, it can be so much worse. It is so much worse. The only thing that kind of saves you in the modern age is that they can't physically get in your head. Now they can brainwash you, and they do on a regular basis, and they've figured out the best way to do it. Our advertising, our native advertising, our TV shows are diabolically clever. My hat's off to them. So they know that they can get into your behavioral programming, but they cannot physically get into your program, because the second there's a head jack, the second that there's a way to actually mess with your neurons to get into your head physically, they will, because if there's a chance to make more money, somebody will fucking use it. And that's when things get dangerous. That's when because right now it's like we worry, it's the bridge between the computer virus and the actual virus, right? When somebody creates the second you create that that jack into the physical space where data translates into body. Now suddenly you have a virus that can get in. You can, and you could have somebody essentially shut down half the population. Like that shit is really scary. And that's something like that in the future. If we're dumb enough and smart enough to figure out how to head jack into the neural network and create some kind of interface, which I think I'm beginning to believe is impossible. But either way, it seems improbable, but I guess anything is possible. Something horrible will happen, which will trigger really good data security, really good software to protect you. It's the same way that there was a time when there were no computer viruses, right? And now everything has built-in software protection. Now you need a password for everything, right? I'd be curious if tomorrow the technology existed, how many people would willy-nilly jack their heads into the internet? Because it's kind of scary. I'm starting to bump into this with my kids because they have a very limited access of the internet. They don't need it. I'm trying to hold them off as long as I can. I'm giving them kind of drips and drams of access, but they're clever and they're beginning to figure out how to do things. And my daughter actually was like, you know what? She's like, maybe I should do a podcast, and I should do a podcast about this because we're talking about it. Yeah.
Use the code Ozone for 2 months free.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, hey,
sorry, I forgot that in the shill thing, by the way. Ozone still works as far as I know. Sorry.
I said, hey, listen. I was like, you're 10. I was like, let's not go putting things on the internet quite yet. And she was like, why not? I'm like, because it'll be there forever, potentially.
Well, you know what you should. You know what honestly would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Is have her record a few. You don't put them anywhere. You just record them onto something local. Just and say, let's go back in a month and have you listen to them and see if you still think this is something. Do it like that, where it's like,
man,
convey the idea
if we did that, we'd never post a show.
Well, okay, we're also older.
Adult.
What I'm saying is, we have a concept. Look, you and I, as much as we talk about free range stuff, we still have we're still a latch, I think, in each of our brains that says, okay, wait a minute. What I just thought to say might be misinterpreted. It's too, whatever. You know what I mean? Kids, younger people don't necessarily have that. Yeah. So if you start, and the other thing it instills is the idea of, okay, take time and understand whether this is something you actually meant.
If I was 16 years old and I had an iPhone, right, I would not think twice about asking a girl to send me naked pictures. Because when I was 16, I was a stupid hornball. Now, here's the thing. That's a crime. That is a digital child pornography crime. It doesn't matter if you're 16. If somebody who is young, same age as you, doesn't matter, sends you pornography, you are both in trouble now with the law. So I do feel for kids who are trying to navigate this new universe that and what's worse is when they're trying to navigate it with parents who don't truly understand how dangerous it is. Then you get these stories about parents who are like, well, I don't understand what she was doing putting porn on the internet. It's like, well, I mean, you should have paid more attention to what was going on, guys. Sure. So yeah, but I do, going back to the question, is I do wonder how many people would, if tomorrow Apple came out and they were like, hey, we've got the new iJack and, you're going to surgically implant it behind your ear and it'll give you access to and we're going to do light brain surgery and you'll have this interface in your eye and, the whole kit and caboodle, the full cyberpunk, right? I do wonder how many people would just go for it right off the bat. Early adopters. Because, there's people who want Elon Musk's, what is that thing he's working on?
Oh, the Neuralink or whatever?
Yeah, his Neuralink, whatever. So they're like, I want a Neuralink. And I'm like, what are you going to do?
No. I think anybody who thinks they should have one, you should get it. You should. Go for it.
Oh, this is the whole Darwinism thing, isn't it?
Yeah. You should get that put into your skull. I agree. You deserve it. Go get it.
I was reading about the monkeys in the test trials.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And how awful.
Yeah, no. Anyway. Anybody with a brain knew that already. It's just
yeah. But still, if tomorrow the technology was, let's say the technology was good, because that's even scarier. Scary when the technology is good. How many people wouldn't even stop to think about brain security and would just be like, I'll get an iJack. Just jack me in, man. Oh man.
I mean, okay, so if it was from Apple, a lot of people would get it. If it was from Facebook, I think a lot of people wouldn't. So it's the level of trust.
Well, it's a hardware thing.
Whether I'm saying that that's justified or not is a separate thing. But if Apple came out with it, it would have the most chance of people adopting it.
Yeah, it's more so the idea of it's putting the hardware in your head.
Well,
and not
I
thinking
think
about...
I think that honestly would stop most people more than anything. They wouldn't want to have surgery for it.
I wonder.
You know what I mean?
I think young people.
I'm not saying
everybody. I think a lot of young people would. It's not because they're stupid. I'm not even like, young people are so dumb.
I'm not even
so
going to that.
There's such an openness to new technologies, and there's a lack of history with things going horribly wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you think how many phones that have been released with glaring errors where you have a significant population of people whose technology bricked. I explained to my daughter the other day how the process of a car recall happens. She got us to that. We were talking about cars and things going wrong, and I started explaining how car recalls happen and the whole formula they use. And she was like, "Wait a minute! So they'll just let people have these accidents or collisions, whatever the problem is, and they won't recall the car unless it becomes too expensive." I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. It's like, unless it becomes expensive enough, they won't recall the cars, even though they know that there's a potential chance that people could get hurt. And like, you think about that with cars, you think about that with any device you have has some kind of level of error, right? Where like, I'm sure there's a percentage of iPhones that just burst into flames. Oh, Teslas. I know that there's like a certain level of there's some percentage, even if it's like 0.5% of Teslas that just burst into flames in your garage, right? And these people know it, and that's the technology that's out there. Now let's jack it into your head. I was like, I can only imagine you'd have people's heads explode. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, that would be, yeah, I'd be so gory. The mayhem. So yeah, it's nutty. But to change gears here. Nice. Are you shopping again?
No. Well, not the way you think.
Toys are porn.
No. This is nothing material. It occurred to me because I'm like, okay, because as we talk, because I don't take notes really, I try to think about how to categorize the shows, because I do use the category feature on the show. And this is the most specific thing in the world, but all of the categories that I've created are capitalized. So comics, capital C. Culture and society, capital C, capital S. Oh, it bothers me that the and is lowercase. I must have had an off day when I did that. Mixed media, capital M, capital M. I don't know, movies and TV, it must not let you capitalize the and, which is really stupid, but whatever. I could put up with that. But what bothers me is the category for general is a lowercase g, and you can't change it. And that just, I can't tolerate it. I realize that, and it's digging into my head. So I'm like, okay, I can't make my own general because general already exists. So I needed something to come up with that conveyed the topic of general, but not just saying general. So I'm like, all right, so I'm on the thesaurus thing and I'm looking for synonyms for general. Pretty boring and kind of, stupid. And then I saw the word scopic, or scopic, I guess, depending on how you're supposed to pronounce it. And I'm like, okay, scopic's a good word, but I need something else to convey that it's not just everything, but everything without any limit. So I was trying to see if scopically was a word. It's not, or scopically. So I'm like, well, what am I going to put as the second word? It has to be 2 words. And I came upon, scopic infinity. That's it. That's general for us. So now I've just created the category of scopic infinity. That's all. So when you say shopping, mentally shopping.
I really like that, scopic infinity.
Yeah. So that's why I was like,
That's good.
ah,
I mean,
I came up with something.
I don't know if anybody's gonna know what you're talking about.
No, I don't care. If anything, it might get
I do
somebody to
like
look the
that,
word
though.
up. So that's
really
fine.
Quite funny.
Education and entertainment all in one. Yeah. So sorry, go on. So I wasn't shopping in the conventional sense. I was shopping for a word.
You were having one of those moments where you were realigning the universe.
Yeah, my OCD led me to a neat word.
I like that.
Scopic or Scopic. How do you pronounce it? Scopic. Wait, well there's
topic.
It
Scopic.
is. Okay, what is the A with
or
the two
scope.
dots above it? What's the dot with the two A? The A with the two dots above it.
Oh Jesus, I forgot to sound that thing.
All right, hold on. How to pronounce? There's a thing that says words. Here it is. The pronunciation. All right, here it is. Sopic. All right, it's gonna say it. Hold on a minute.
And it makes an air sound.
Okay. Hold on, I'm going to listen to it. Hold on, I'm going to listen to it right now. Scopic. Well, he's got a different accent than me. Scopic. It's almost like a Jersey accent. Scopic. He sounds like Scopic.
Scopic, man.
Scopic. Yeah, Scopic. All right. Scopic. There you go. It's a 1 of 5 of difficulty. Fuck you, it is. Maybe for somebody else. It's a 1 out of 5. You're trying to make me feel stupid? I'm going to put it as a 5. No, I'm voting 5. Yeah, now it's a 3 out of 5, bitch. How you like that? Good. I moved it from 1 to 3 based on 2 votes. By the way, that tells you how many people on the planet have actually looked up Scopic and then rated it. Me and one other person. Whoa, you can record the pronunciation of this word in your own voice and play it? What?
Hey, it's fucking Scopic.
Hey, it's fucking Scopic. That's great. Anyway, yeah. I'm sorry.
See,
anyway, Scopic.
The more human they make games, the more entertained I am with them, right? But the reality is that the only way to make games more human is to make them more dumb, to make them more stupid, to make them more hung up on weird shit.
Yeah.
And I am discovering that Baldur's Gate 3 is either very clever or lazy. I want to think it's clever.
It's clever.
Right?
I don't even have to think about that.
So a while back, we had that weird situation where the one Carlac character was like, don't ever trust demons. And then later on, there was a thing that came up with the demon. And she was like, well, can we do the thing with the demon? And you were like, no, we're not doing the thing with the demon. And I wanted there to be an option that was like, you said not to trust him. But instead she was like, well, fuck you then. And I'm like, okay. That level of hypocrisy is very human and made me like the game more. Well, recently, Joe and I had a hilarious, a moment in Baldur's Gate where we, which is not the point of this. It's just what led up to this moment, which is that we once again Joe realized that the game will let you do things in a ridiculous way. And we killed a flying person. A person who can fly by pushing them into a hole. I laughed so hard. You should, I don't know when the recording of it will come out, but I laughed so hard it apparently clipped the audio. I laughed so hard my wife heard me in our bedroom and I was in the basement. So anyway, but what followed,
the video I will tell everybody will be titled "Shoving Balthazar." That will be the title, because that recording was about 30 minutes, which is perfect. I'm aiming for 30-minute segments now, and that was right about 30 minutes.
Oh man, you know what? It's rare that we play a game where I actually feel the need to cheer. Is that weird? Anyway,
no, it's not. I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so we killed the guy. We killed the guy who could fly by pushing him in a hole. It's awesome. But the thing is, we didn't. There was with Baldur's Gate.
By the way,
yeah?
just so that it doesn't sound. I immediately rationalized that as underneath that platform was a gravity well, and you can fly all you want, but if there's a black hole in there,
you know what? Maybe it's a great. And here's the joke of it is that the only reason it worked was because one of our characters got kicked out of the. I honestly do think it's a glitch that happened because all of the living characters were stuck in the conversation with this bad guy.
No. I don't believe that's a glitch at all. I I have not looked this up to verify it because I almost want to find out after we finish the game. But my suspicion
is that you could
people actively play this way, where they keep one character hung way back.
Oh, okay.
And they let everybody lead
we
as
did
a
it,
vanguard.
We did it by accident.
We
had a
not
character
using
who
strategy.
died.
Let's not pretend. It's not happening.
Whoa, we occasionally have strategy.
Not
you know
that,
what?
Not that type.
But we had a character who had died, and she came back as the conversation started. So she never got in the conversation, which I realized so that I could walk right up to the guy while he was talking to you and basically just kick him 95% of the way to the edge, at which point the fight started, and Joe's guy just walked up to him and was like, "Here you go, infinity and beyond."
Yeah, and I booted him off the thing, and he died. And that was it.
But either way, what this led to was fascinating to me, because there was a character that wasn't with us. Joe and I have kind of our crew, essentially. We're almost like a pair of married couples at this point in the game, because I have my demon and Joe has his strapping, charming wizard, our warlock. Yes. Sorry, and that's kind of our running team. That's Team A, right? We don't really use the other people in the game, and because of that, we're not really doing their quest chains. We're kind of just playing this through in a very direct way this time around. We will play it differently, because I'm already looking at the game going, but what if I played it this way? What if I play it that way? I mean, I'm not fucking playing evil. That's not in me, but I could play it as a bard, I think. So there was a character, Shadowheart, that was supposed to be with us. This is one of her core situations, but we didn't play with Shadowheart. I didn't remember to bring her. I might have brought her if I could remember. We didn't remember. We did this thing. And then right after we did it, she confronts us. Now, by the way, you know how you were... So she confronts us. She doesn't really give us a chance to discuss it, and she just fucks off. And that's it. We've lost Shadowheart. She is no longer a companion character in the game. We have lost her, right? Now, I was curious about this, because I do love that this game creates conversations between Joe and I. And we had a conversation afterward about zealotry, because I always thought the character of Lizelle was more of a zealot than Shadowheart. But in the end, we blew up Lizelle's church and told her queen god to get fucked, and Lizelle stuck around. She stuck around and she talked it out with us, right? And we figured she was the bitch. And now Shadowheart, who always seemed like she was on the verge of a realization, wouldn't even stay. She was just like, you robbed me of my religious moment, and she fucked off, right? And it's fascinating that she ended up being the bigger zealot. I was surprised. But that moment, that very human moment where I'm sitting there going, I thought Shadowheart was less of a zealot, and in the end, she's more of a zealot than the other person. And the creation of these very human situations. It's actually, I don't know of another game that quite does it to this degree. Even Wasteland. I mean, Wasteland is a series of decisions, and you can decide on what you want to do, right? But even Wasteland's decision system is not as comprehensive as this. Where you've got hypocrisy, you've got zealotry, you've got all these other things boiled in there, and maybe it's by accident, but the voice acting is actually so good that they sell it. I felt bad when Shadowheart left, because I realized we'd lost part of our crew. And then after the fact, I was like, no, I don't, because in the end of the day, she's a zealot. She didn't even want to talk about it. Joe, a lot of these things occurred to Joe early on, but Joe is it can be more harsh than I can. I think with stuff like this, because but what's funny is that you hated Lizelle early on in the game, and I even provided you a way where you could have her killed off, and you didn't take it, right? So I like to think of you as the little harsh, and then I'm like the big harsh. It just takes longer to get started.
If you remember, the reason I said no was I'm going to allow the possibility that this character can turn around.
Yes.
And that happened.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
You know.
I mean, we don't necessarily like her,
No.
but she's becoming the funny asshole in the camp.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, Shadowheart was always kind of like a standby if we needed another healer. And I realized that we re-rolled our Karlach to be like a warrior healer, like she's what I think a war cleric. So we never really had a reason to use Shadowheart. And now she's gone, and it's like, wow, it's interesting because I went online, I was reading about other ways that character's story goes. And it's fascinating because if we had utilized her differently, her story would have come out, she would have been very, very different. But it's amazing. You get into that idea of like, alternate universes. You know what I mean? Like we are devising our own universe of this game, but they have created the possibility of various other universes. Because I mean, apparently there's a thing in there where you can save her parents. Like apparently there's a whole bunch of shit that we bypassed because we didn't bring her with us. And that's like a whole other universe of that character. Whereas we chose a different path. So it's I really liked Dead Island 2 up until a point. Now, Dead Island 2, you can't compare these two games. What I was trying to say was I liked Dead Island 2 to a point. And then we got to a certain point where both of us kind of said, wait a minute, this sucks, right? And I warmed to Dead Island 2. Whereas I was a little bit apprehensive of Baldur's Gate because it was so kind of big and complicated. I mean, early on, you got to figure out the system, right? But once you figure out the system, you're rolling through, and I am consistently been impressed with the way decisions echo forth and the way things change and the arbitrary. I think somebody said it best was like, I'm still waiting for decisions I made in the first 10 minutes of the game to come back to haunt me. And like we bump into people that we arbitrarily saved in like the first maybe hour of gameplay. And suddenly they become important to some area. And we're like, oh geez, like we wouldn't even had this. And the workarounds, like we have a quest that is broken. Apparently it is broken on the PS5. But somebody online basically said, hey, this is a workaround if you're trying to, because there's two quests kind of converge and you need to do one to make the other one. But people figured out that you can basically skip that if you just pickpocket one of the villains rather than complete his quest or kill him. You don't have to kill him and you don't have to complete his quest. You just pickpocket him. Now, pulling that off was amusing. I mean, I don't know how many times did you die doing that? It was at least 5 or 6, right?
Oh, many times. Yeah, 5 or 6 is right. Yeah.
Right. But the fact that the game allows the possibility of doing it that way and just rolling on. I have no doubt that at some point we'll finish this game, we'll put it away for maybe a few months, and we will come back, and then we will play it completely differently.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I like, and this is, remember early on I said I'm not going to read anything about this game? That was one of my things. One of the reasons for that, one of the very, very,
you didn't want to sway yourself, did you?
No, it wasn't even that. Because when I was looking up the thing about that guy, Yurgurus or whatever his name is, because I was trying to see, because, we didn't know what was going on with the game. We had to look it up and we found out there was a bug, a major bug that still hasn't been fixed. But we had also tried that, like we were on that for hours at that point. Well, and we would never have finished it because of the bug. So we got to a point where we were forced to look it up. But one of the things that I saw when I looked it up was they said, oh, if you do this, you will not be able to do Asterian's storyline, right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason I don't want to read anything, or as little as possible, is I don't think we would know that just playing it through had I not read it. But then when we went back and played again, and let's say I took Asterian, we'd have this whole surprising new story. That's why I don't want to know anything. I want this to actually be surprising. Yeah.
I know the problem is when you reach glitches like that where you cannot pass.
No, that's an exception. No, that's fine because we didn't. Obviously, this is a major bug. We didn't have a choice. So
my thing was early, when I was looking up stuff about like I would read about different things that we had done, just curious, as like, and I remember reading a list of like major things that could change the game in a negative way ahead of time, and being like, and like very general. And I tried to read stuff that was very kind of it was spoiler free enough. Like, don't do this because something bad could happen. If you don't care, go ahead, but make sure you have a save, right? And the thing is, we do, you save a ton. And at first I was like, maybe we shouldn't save that much. And then I started reading about things that can go wrong, and I was like, nope, save a ton, because there's so much that can go hilariously wrong. I mean, the big joke with us is that our superpower is time travel. Because like if we fuck it up really bad, well, we usually have a save within the last 5 minutes. And we can try and figure out another way. But even with time travel, sometimes we get stuck. We got stuck in this one thing for like 1-2 hours. And that's when we were like, okay, now we need to find out what's going on here. And it did turn out to be an error in the game. But still, the complicated nature of that programming with that level of storytelling, and the voice acting and the mocap, I mean, like, it's just it is a work of art, I gotta say. Like, if that's I guess that's my review of Baldur's Gate 3. This game is a work of art. So on a technological level, on an artistic level, storytelling wise, it is a work of art. I have yet to be let down by this game, even though we found a glitch that we could not pass. And we would probably be pissed if we were playing Asterion. We got away, we got around it, So yeah, I'm impressed. I just wanted to bring that to the table because it's something that we've been doing, and we're consistently impressed with it. And for the longest time, Wasteland was kind of our high watermark for RPGs.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that it's not just us. I mean, there's so many stellar reviews of this game. This game is fantastic. And I'm hoping that this will push developers to put more quality into it, because there's no add-ons. There's no
also something Wasteland. No DLC, no out. They had DLC, but it was free. The original game had no DLC to it, and then they released the expansions, but those were story elements.
Yeah, did we buy those, or were they free? I can't remember. I thought they bought them.
No, I think we bought them. Yeah, no, I think we bought them. But
those were not.
Was not.
Yeah,
there.
But those were some that came out later on, and the things I don't mind if there's DLC down the way where they're like, hey, we created some more storylines. I'd be like, sure.
Honestly, there's no impact if you don't play them. It's not like some of them now where it's like, well, the story isn't complete until you. No. It was already complete. It was already done.
And there's no that petty shit where they're like, get better guns or get better swords or buy this or get this special clothes, like So yeah, I'm impressed. It's been a while since I was this impressed with the game. I can't remember the last time I was this impressed with the game. The last time I was this impressed with the game was like Final Fantasy.
Well, it was Wasteland, because remember we worked so hard to keep that one girl on our team, and we were like, we have to make sure.
Yeah, and it was touch and go, because she was kind of on my secondary character, and and I knew that there was a moment in that game that if you didn't get it right, that you'd have to kill her, and I was like, man, I don't want to play this whole game and then have to kill her on a moral ground. And I read about how if you can back it up and you can take the right conversation kind of track, you can convince her and she'll go with it. She won't necessarily like it, but she will go with it because it'll make sense. And I was like, that's at least they gave you that opportunity. Joe was telling me that he thinks that we can get out of any fight in this game by being clever and get a good conversation.
Yeah. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean that this team we have can do it, but I believe
that
every single thing can be avoided.
Yes.
Because the Balthazar thing is a perfect example. If we didn't have a warlock, there were two choices in that dialogue that only a warlock could do. Now, maybe Gale could do it as a wizard. I don't know, but maybe not.
I'm going to play it next time as a really charismatic gnome bard and see how far we get.
I think the next playthrough I'm gonna play as one of the mains.
Really?
I might play as Will or as Gale as my main thing.
Interesting. Okay. See, and the thing is, what's funny is I was reading a while back that if you play as Karlach, you actually get less storyline for her. That her story gets actually shorter.
Her story is more responsive as opposed to proactive.
Well, her story it's just shorter because she was one of the last characters that they wove into the game. You know what I mean?
But haven't they expanded it now with the update? Doesn't she have more?
Well, they've expanded her endings. They created.
Maybe I'll play as Lae'zel, and I just won't be a complete utter bitch the whole time.
I'm gonna play as Lizelle and romance Shadowheart. I will have my.
Oh, there you go. Sure.
I'll have my cleric and my fighter.
I'll still probably, if I was Gale, I'd probably still go after Will, or because Gale was the other one I was going after. So.
Because Will is a handsome fucker.
He really is.
Man, those horns! Jesus Christ, he's got the best horns in that game.
And Gale's a good-looking fella too.
Gale is a good-looking fella.
Gale is like a magic sting.
I'm impressed with the level of gay romance in this game.
Yeah, me too.
But the thing that impresses me most, the most amazing thing in this game, hands down, without a doubt, that comes back to me often in the day, is your character's fuck faces. Joe's character, he's got this range of facial expression. I thought he was blowing kisses at the undead wizard the other day that was going to kill us. Like you were mid-conversation with him, and the guy was like, "And you're going to work for me, or I'm going to kill you." And it cut to you, and I swear you were like blowing him kisses. Yeah, you were like, mwah, mwah. And I'm like,
I was like the female gremlin at the end of Gremlins too. Like,
man, it is amazing. And like, I want to think that it's me reading into it, but it isn't. You just have you've picked the face in this game.
Oh no, it's not you reading into it. I think it's the personality combination I picked.
Is that what it is?
I think it's the fact that I'm an elf, and whatever the personality I picked. So I think elves are supposed to come off as a little bit kind of look down the nose at people. Well, that too. And well, what I'm curious about is, do my actions inform my facial expressions? Probably not.
I don't know. But what's amusing is that my character. We jokingly call her Sad Eeyore because her two expressions are either happy or are sad or scared, and then very, very occasionally she's happy when she's with Karlach. But 90% of the time, yeah.
No, my next one I think I'll play Asterion and I'll go after Gale. So it'll be me and Gale. Yeah, because I was like, because I'm doing Will's thing now, so a lot of this will be familiar. Yeah, that would be interesting to do because Asterion is a rogue, I think, which I'm already kind of playing.
Yes, he's a vampire rogue. He's less tat.
Yeah. But that'll be the pairing. I'll try those two as a thing. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm hooked up with Will now. So.
And the funny thing is that there's characters that become playable later in the game. So like, what's his name? The guy who becomes a bear. Halsin becomes playable in the second half, midway through the second part of the game. Yeah. You know, and shit like that. And it's like, well, do you switch gears at that point? And, yeah. So it's amusing. The whole thing is amusing to me, and how different an experience it can be. You know, and it's weird. There is a question as to play it as a core character or to play it as your own character. Because your own character is reactive to whatever is going on in the world, whereas these characters have storylines in the world. You know?
Right.
So, yeah, it would be interesting to play... It would be interesting to run a crew that was only core characters, because you'd probably get the max amount of content.
Probably, yeah, I would think.
You know, so, but I don't think nobody has the facial expressions that your character does. We got to figure out what's the name of that specific face that you have.
I could look in the magic mirror and I'll be able to find out.
I'm so curious because is it that face, or is it the way you've
I'll look to see if anything gives a
like indication. if you max out your charisma or something like that. Is that why you make kissy faces at everybody? Because you're just sure that you can win them over.
That's possible.
Oh man, that's so funny. Like I said, that game's hilarious on so many levels.
It's a great game. I love it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we tried playing the one before it, right? Not Baldur's Gate, but the other. What was the other
we
one?
tried Divinity Original Sin. I think the problem with that one is it was less.
Is it the same studio?
It is, but a lot of people had said that one is less friendly to people who've never played this stuff. So it was more of a learning curve, and I definitely felt that. I felt like that game really didn't bother to explain anything.
It felt far more stunted. for me. It felt more
I don't
uptight
know
and dry.
that we gave it enough of a chance. So I'm going to say it like that. I don't know that we played it
I
long
say
enough to
that,
really know.
I say that, but Baldur's Gate 3 had me laughing with the bizarrety of it, like from the get-go. I mean, they really went in balls deep from the beginning. You know, I mean that fucking ship, the tentacle, the Nautiloid.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So anyway, I had nothing today, so that's all I got.
Well, I have. Well, I'll give my movie review last because I have more to say about. But do you remember I talked about that e-ink device a little while back? The little
the little phone
Palma,
thing
or Box Palma,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I got it. I bought one.
Ooh,
Yeah,
good.
So I wanted to.
Is it good?
It's very good as long as you know what you're getting. And what I mean by that is, I showed this to a few people, and the response from the most people was, "I don't get it."
It is a phone, right? It is Android
not
phone.
a phone.
Oh.
Or, well, technically, it's a Wi-Fi phone. There is no SIM card in it.
It's an iPod.
Yeah, well, I would call it a Kindle phone. And literally, if you took a Kindle and made it into a phone,
No, I know,
an OS.
I know, but what I mean is like when you've got an iPod. One of the last iPods they made were essentially iPhones.
Yeah, or like an iPod Touch. That's what it is. An iPod Touch.
iPod Touch. That's what I was trying to say. It
so
was
this
an
is
iPod
Android.
Touch.
It's an Android Touch. Yes.
It's an e-ink Android Touch.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
that sounds awesome.
It is awesome. I really, for what here is a, and again I mentioned this in the upcoming late night, so a bit of a teaser. You'll hear me say the same thing here. There was a weird moment of synchronicity with this device specifically, because when I was watching Adobe Max, because it's a 2-day thing, and there's a keynote on the second day that kicks it off, where it's basically creators who are telling kind of how they got to where they were. And in many cases, it's I started with nothing, I just got lucky or worked really hard, and now I have this. It's generally the way it is to inspire people in the crowd that think, oh, I'm never going to make it as an artist, that yes, you can. And there were 4 people, and the second one was a woman named Karen X. Cheng, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Cheng. So it's not Chang, I believe it's Cheng, and maybe I'm not pronouncing that properly, I'm trying. And honestly, her thing is a social media thing. So I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out, and plus I had something that came up, so I had to step away from my screen. But it's not one where I went, okay, well, I'm not into TikTok or any of that stuff, so I don't know that much of what she's going to say is going to really appeal to me anyway. But, I don't like to be one of those type of people. So when I was getting ready for the late night, I rewatched all the keynotes, including that one, and I watched that one beginning to end, and I made sure I watched her segment. And I had the device, I want to see, a week before I did this. So I'm watching her keynote, and she's talking about stuff, and she did go past the social media thing. So I think it is I would recommend people watch it. I would recommend watching anything you can from Max if you're a creator at all, because it's amazing. But anyway, she talked about the importance of work-life balance, which I completely am on board with. And she said, I realized that I was spending too much time on my cell phone, and I wanted to get a device that would discourage me from looking at it as much. And she puts a picture up on the screen, and sure enough, it's this exact device. Not only this exact device, same color, the whole thing. And I went, holy shit, there's the second person I've ever seen that has one of these things. I mean, I know people obviously have to have them or they wouldn't sell them, but it was just a weird thing because I had this device and really liked it. And I use it for work. This is my nice hard cleave between work and personal. So because it's very anti-notification, which is great. It means it makes you use it as opposed to encouraging you to use it. And so it's great for me for work. So I use it for work, and I can make calls on it and all that stuff because it's on wireless. On wireless, which essentially is almost everywhere now, it will basically function as a phone. But because it's e-ink, I haven't charged this thing since, at the time of this recording, it's been a week and a day, and it's at, hold on, let's see. It is at 55%, even though I use it, all the time. But it's a highly responsive e-ink screen. So number one, it's very readable. It's great to read out in the sunlight. It has a backlight. It is Android. It's true Android, so it runs any app. So, I mean, I have many of the same apps that I have on a cell phone on here. But, again, the nice part is when I shut it off, the the notifications are silenced, which is what I want. So I have to wake it to see anything. And as a reading device, it's fantastic. It's almost too small for me, but it's not. I couldn't read any comics on this. Let's not confuse things. It's monochrome, number one.
I had contemplated getting... I'm using a Pro Max right now. I had contemplated getting the smaller phone just so I wouldn't depend on it so much for doing stuff, you know?
I would be very curious what your reaction to this thing would be. I think it's great. And I really like reading on it. Because like I said, it's just big enough that for Kindle books, it's great. Or, you know, for like anything that's text-based, it's fantastic. And it's whatever they're doing with this, it feels far more responsive than my Kindle is. And not that my Kindle is slow, but I also don't really use it the same way, so it's different. But the fact is, I think this is a really great device for somebody who has a need for something like this. Now, it's $280, so it's not nothing. It comes with a case. It has a camera. I mean, and what's weird is when you use the camera on an e-ink device, it's so weird looking. It's almost like a Game Boy. In fact, I did put the Game Boy Tetris as the background for it because it just seems.
Can you take photos that like e-ink looking photos?
Well, that's the thing is I actually haven't taken one and sent it to myself yet.
If you take a photo, take a photo and send it to me, like right now. Because I'm curious if when I get it, it's an e-ink looking photo. Okay. Because honestly, that's fucking cool.
It would be, yeah.
Or if somehow it captures the data of it and it sends it to me as an actual image.
It says it's a 12 megapixel, so I assume.
Oh, I'm so curious now.
Well, that's really weird though. It's having a lot of trouble focusing. Oh, unless this is manual focus. Oh, that's zoom. It's not. It doesn't seem to know how to focus on my screen properly.
Doesn't take a picture of whatever.
Okay. Oh wait, it just did. Here we go.
Hey.
All right, it took a photo. And so now what I have to do is I don't have Skype on it, I must admit, so hold on. So I'll probably have to email it to you.
No, text it. Can you text it?
No, it's not my personal, so no, I can't.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's ways to do it. I will figure it out. Because it...
it is an interesting experiment, because if you're taking photos on this thing, like... Are these always going to be just e-ink photos, or are you actually going to get... But honestly, an e-ink photo would be pretty fucking cool. I mean... I
would think, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
agree.
I'm waiting now with, like, some
here's
enthusiasm
the
to see.
So let me pick this. Hold on a minute. Okay. So keep original size. We'll just send it as original. All right, now hold on. What I have to do... I'm going through, like, 3 steps to do this. Which is highly entertaining to do on a recording of something. But basically what I had to do was I had to email it to myself, and I'm just waiting for it to come in. So once I get it, I will forward the email to you, and then you will see what it looks like. Actually, I'll be curious what it looks like, too. Oh, here it is. Photo. All right, what is it? What does it look like? Holy crap. No, it's a normal... No, it's
really?
Normal. Yeah, it's normal.
So the camera must take a normal camera photo.
Yeah, it does. Here, I
then
just sent you the photo, so you'll see it. No, it's a normal photo.
And then it just translates it. So the photo is doing its own thing separate from the e-ink.
What
that
I
is
could
so
do,
interesting.
Though, is there's a screenshot button on this device. So if I open the photo on the e-ink device and screenshot it, then it will look like an e-ink photo.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it? Yeah. So if you want to see what that looks like.
Your photo just came in. Hold on, I want to see what it looks like.
Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a photo of my screen.
Yeah, man, it's just a normal photo.
It is. But.
Oh, man. Yeah, so there's a whole color. Like, it's fascinating that it can do that.
Yeah.
And still be functioning. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means, send me the... I don't want to see what it looks like on the screen, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this photo, and I'm going to open with the gallery. Okay. Now, how do I screenshot? I'm trying to remember. Hold on. Nope, it's not that. Hold on. How do you... Okay, I just did it. All right, screenshot. Okay. I mean, this is an extraordinarily janky way to do this, I have to tell you.
Yeah, it's just trying to see it.
This is more of an amusement than anything else. So, photo...
It's a massive amusement.
Yeah, I mean, this is pointless for anybody else. But what I would say is, if you're looking for something like this, which I was,
Yeah.
This is exactly what there's only one thing I wish, and maybe that I don't know how to do it yet. There's only two downsides. I will give you two downsides to it. One is that it is clearly a Chinese device. So I don't think I can remove the Chinese language. So there's some things where it has both English and Chinese lettering on it. Okay. That's more of a kind of annoying thing. And the other is unless I'm missing it somehow, I couldn't actually find. There's certain things about it that I don't know if they're just not on there, or I don't know where the setting is.
Okay.
So, oh wow, it screenshotted it in color.
No.
Wow. Yeah, it won't.
Weird.
Let you...
So it's translating it back. So it's
yeah, it doesn't.
It's translating
want it to be
from
ink.
color to ink right there on your screen.
That's really fascinating. Yeah.
And that makes it so that you can seamlessly use this with the everyday world without having everything come up. Man, that's cool.
What I would be curious, because if that's the camera, then that means, and it looks like it does have does it have a front-facing camera? It must, because it said you could do video calling.
Can you see yourself as a black and white?
Well, I do on the screen. I obviously do, because that's what it is. You know what I mean? So yes.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Wow, that's really weird. That's really fascinating. Yeah. So I hadn't even messed with that too much. I knew it had a camera, but yeah, I hadn't taken any pictures. Yeah. I almost wish there was a way to do it in that way.
This is how nerdy we are. That we're excited by this.
Yeah, but it's
I acknowledge
like
that,
I said,
but it's cool
for it
because it's literally an Android device. It's just translating itself to e-ink. As it goes.
It's an Android device with a very high refresh e-ink screen, and I don't even have it turned all the way up to the full, because you can crank it all the way up, which will obviously kill the battery faster. I didn't, because I'm fine with it. The refresh rate is perfectly fine. I have it on balance, which is dead middle, and it's fine. I mean, it does have ghosting, you see, but that's e-ink. So if you don't want that, you don't want e-ink. I mean, you can't really escape that. And if you really hate it that much, there is a button that you can set to just say refresh the screen, and that will get rid of the ghosting. Obviously, the more you do that, the more it uses the battery up, because the whole power benefit of e-ink is that it doesn't do full refreshes all the time. And the other nice part about that is it's always got a screensaver with a clock on it. Now, the clock only refreshes every 5 minutes, but that's okay. I don't care.
How often do you look at your phone?
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I just like the fact that I haven't even had to think about turning this thing off or charging it since I got it. I charged it when I got it, and I've had it now for over a week, and it's at 55%, which means I could probably use it depending on how much. I'm really going to be curious what my max range on it is. But like I said, for what I was looking for, and it's funny because, as I said, this woman wanted it for the reverse. She was using her cell phone for work, and then for her personal stuff, she was using this so that she wasn't getting text messages and the rest of it, because she wanted to minimize her usage when she wasn't working.
Yeah.
Which proves it can work both ways. But what it really is it's a device that isn't trying to grab your attention all the time. And depending on how you want to apply that, I think it's a really good device for that. I am really very happy with it, because I wasn't sure. I was like, this might end up being a regret purchase, but it's actually, and I do love that it's e-ink. I love e-ink. I just like the whole concept of it. So the fact that it is, and honestly, I could make calls with it. They just wouldn't be calls with my number. They would be, video calls, Skype calls, or Zoom call, or whatever. But I've typed on it. It's quick enough that I can type on it. It's perfectly fine. I just sent myself an email with no problem, all that stuff. So it does all the stuff I wanted to do. So like I said, I don't know that this is something that most people would want.
The fact that everything translates to color means that you can continue to,
Yeah, the only thing you can't do is open color on it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. The only time it becomes a problem is if somebody says, hey, how does the color look on this photo? And then you're like, well, yeah.
That would be a limitation. But like I said, the other nice part about this is this company makes other devices, some that are bigger. So if this is something, this is kind of like, okay, if this is this good, then I'm pretty sure all their other stuff is going to be equally good. So if you're like, well, I'd love to have this, but more as a tablet, because they do make one that you write on and it is color. Yeah. So, based on this, if I had a need for, I think their newest one of their tablets is the e-paper one, is the Tab Ultra C Pro, which is actually going to be out as of this recording, it is out, and this one is a... how do I get rid of this stupid window? I got like a pop-up on their window that doesn't... Hello? Give me... Oh, does it not... it doesn't have a description yet, but it's essentially an e-ink tablet, and that is color. It's a 10.3-inch tablet that is color. So black and white, black and white is at 300 ppi, so essentially a Kindle. Color is at 150, so half. So, you'll lose something on there. It's got a stylus that it comes with. It's a Qualcomm, so essentially an Android chip with 6 gigs of RAM. It's running Android 12. So essentially it's an Android tablet with e-ink. And you get the tablet, the pen. So you could use this. Like I said, I would be really interested in what one of these tablets. I want the color to be a little bit better before I'm going to buy a color one. I want the color if the color hits 300 and has slightly better contrast, then you're talking about reading comic books. And I'd much rather read comics on e-ink than I'd ever want to read them on an iPad. It's just not quite there yet, but this is like 2-3 years out and it will be there. So, and I would buy it from this company based on the experience with this device. And I don't miss the color at all, to be honest, for what I'm using this for. I don't miss it even a little bit. I was actually hoping it would take pictures in monochrome, but that's okay. I don't care. I get why probably most people wouldn't want that. That might be more divisive.
I do wish it had. But it'd be awesome if you had it as a feature that you could turn on and off.
It is possible it is a feature because I haven't read everything on it yet. So it may be that there is a way to do it, and I just don't know how. So, but I also understand why they probably would just say, okay, we need to, because to some degree, to keep this thing from being $1,000, you can't build custom components for everything.
Of course not.
So it's probably a case where they're like, okay, this model of camera as a component is pretty cheap. We can keep this thing under $300. We're just going to put that in there. So that's fine. Let's put it this way. It doesn't bother me. It just would have been kind of cute, but that's all right. So so for anybody who was curious, yeah, I got it. I had to get it from the Hong Kong store because the US one sold out, which to me also is a good sign. It means people are buying it. But it came within, I think it showed up in a week from Hong Kong. So it certainly wasn't, I wouldn't complain about the shipping time. It was fine. And I like it. I'm not sorry I bought it, which is the biggest thing. So that's my hardware review. In progress, but so far I'm liking it quite a bit. So unless it suddenly just dies or whatever, I think I'm going to be happy with it in the long run. So that's the Box Palma, or Books. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce 2 O's, but I've heard people say Box, so I'll say Box Palma.
This is the company is BOOX, right?
BOOX. They make several e-ink devices. They also make traditional tablets, but I'm sure they're not.
Yeah. Apparently people are. These have gone down on a few lists as being really great word processors for writers.
Well,
you get the tablet, and then you basically just got to find a good keyboard for it.
Well, they make a keyboard case with the new one, so I thought of you for the newer one. I was
just looking at that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is now I don't know what you expect out of typing in terms of how fast the words show up, but I'll tell you. I could send you a video. This
Dude,
thing seems pretty quick.
Started on a typewriter. How many times have I said that I'm going to go back to a typewriter?
Well, okay, so then this is absolutely as fast, if not faster, than a typewriter. Like I was surprised, to be honest. I thought it was going to be slower.
I am definitely curious now.
Like I said, wait for it when it comes out. It'll be out.
Yeah, my biggest issue is I literally have no good experience with Android.
Well, that's the thing is. But for what you need, Android was fine. If you're just getting a word processor, because you can run, I don't know, do you use Office or what do you use?
I use Pages.
Okay, so the only thing is I don't think they have Pages, but can't you just write in text and import it into Pages?
Yeah, I'm actually looking to see. It might. Yeah,
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have an equivalent.
What is a Pages file list? What is the format?
So I'm looking. Pages file. What is .pages? How to open it?
Is it a doc? No, that's a
it
word
is.
file.
Oh no, it's .pages. Huh.
Really?
It says here .pages. .pages. That's what it says. Yeah.
That's not very. No, it doesn't seem to support that format, but it does support what do you call it, like an MS Word document, and Pages supports MS Word documents. So yeah, you could transfer it back and forth. You might just lose formatting along the way, but you wouldn't use this as any kind of ridiculous main. You would use this as a satellite device to having a main unit someplace else.
No, that's what I'm saying is, and I'm sure. Let's see here.
But yes, it is fascinating. It is definitely fascinating.
Because doesn't Pages support PDFs?
Yes.
Okay, so then you would write on whatever Mac you want or app you want, and then export it as a PDF, import it into Pages, and back and forth. You would be able to do it that way.
Available October 27th.
Yeah. So I would wait, watch the reviews, make sure there's no huge problems with it, but I really doubt it. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. So apparently, some Android devices do support Pages natively. According to this, it says if your Android device supports it, it will open. Otherwise, you will have to convert it to PDF. Oh, so it may work. I mean, Android 12 is, well, that's a couple versions back, but that's typical for, so I don't know. Android, let's see. I'm just curious. .pages. Let's see if it works. Nobody. I don't think anybody cares.
Yeah, that's okay. We're in such a specific niche now. Writers who like e-ink.
Yeah.
So,
but what I'm saying is the responsiveness is there, so you would be able to make it work. It looks interesting though. Yeah, and the writing apparently it does feel like paper from what the reviews I had seen on their older models. So I imagine the new one would, if you actually wanted to take notes.
Yeah.
Or it's apparently feels like paper, and it is as responsive enough that you can use a stylus with it, and it comes with a stylus, so you would have it. It doesn't come with the keyboard, but you could just buy that. So, it might be, and like I said, the battery life would be outstanding. Well,
yes.
Yeah.
A device like this is good especially if you're a travel writer or something like that.
It's a niche device, but for the niches it serves, at least this one I really like. And I just assume that the tablet will be as good or not better. So, like I said, I'm certainly not a tech reviewer by any means, but I'm happy with it so far. Now, a year from now, if it ends up being a train wreck, I'll tell you. But I just have a feeling it won't, because it's essentially just a smaller Kindle. Kindle's pretty good.
Everything has the potential to be a train wreck in a year.
It does. So, and the only other thing is this company could go out of business because maybe not enough people will buy this. So there's always that aspect. Anything like this that's highly segmented, you never know if the company's going to make it. So that's the only other thing. But, that's kind of a known risk with devices like this.
But hey, you vote with your dollar.
Well, but not only that, but this is the 4th or 5th version of these things they've made. So they must be having at least some success. Usually companies like that fold after 1 or 2 gens. I mean, even Microsoft gave up on the Duo, and I thought that thing was great. So it can happen. But anyway, that's what I want to talk about there. Now I will do my movie review. And for my movie review, I went back to the 30s, more pre-code horror. Thank you, Criterion. I watched a film called Dr. X from 1932. And this is as I said, this is part of their pre-code collection. And it's in particular a unique film in that for a lot of its life, it was only available in black and white. It was not shot that way. It was, in fact, shot for black and white and what is described as Technicolor 2-strip. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I really understand what Technicolor 2-strip is, but it is a treasured way of shooting films that filmmakers and film buffs really like. Now, I'm trying to see if I can look up.
Wow, I'm reading the plot here, and it's already hilarious.
It's wild. It's a wild film. This movie is so specifically.
Yeah, I mean,
what it is. I don't even know how to describe it.
The cast of possible suspects is
oh yes,
hilarious.
Oh yes. Okay, here it is. I found something. Let's see. Where somebody had an explanation. The 2-color primaries. So colors make on the screen or what you could. Oh, okay. So the 2-strip process is apparently.
Did you watch it in black and white?
No, I watched it in color because I found Lucas actually was part of it said Lucas something film whatever supported restoring this to its color version. So
yeah. I mean, that's always the problem with George Lucas. Every time I want to take a shit on him, he does something, and I'm like, man.
Yeah. So 2-color Technicolor used a single strip and a prism that produce two adjacent separations. And that makes sense because the movie feels like it's really two colors. If you look up, I'm sure you can search for it. So if you look Dr. X 1932 color, let's see if it's on YouTube. It's such a weird and beautiful color mix. It's so hard to, here it is. Here, you got to just see some, because the color is so amazing. And it really becomes the reason to watch it. The story is, look, I love it, but it's this very specific kind of movie.
Almost like a tan and a green?
Yes. But it's this very vibrant, weird, otherworldly, not necessarily, go to 22 minutes.
I've got the entire movie on Facebook here.
Yeah, all right. Go to about 22 minutes in and you'll see all the, where they're doing the testing.
Yeah.
And when you see the faces, look at the way the faces are colored, and like the glass and all this stuff. Like they obviously shot this in a very specific way. And this is the real reason to watch it, is because of this beautiful and weird otherworldly coloring that apparently is what you get out of this. It's really, they shot it in two colors that they mixed together. Now, how they did it, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but think about it, right? I mean, how many colors? You're basically using three colors to make everything.
Well, sure, but the way this is done, it's a very harsh, specific.
Yeah, but what's fascinating is, so there's definitely some sort of yellowy brown and a green, right?
Yes.
But the one guy's hat is like gray.
Oh yeah, no.
And
there are other colors. Yeah, there are other colors. No, I'm not saying it's not only two colors, but those two colors.
But they're finding those colors through the use of it's basically two colors to make a range of colors, right?
Yeah, and then the emphasis is on those two main colors, especially the greens just leap off the screen. It makes everything so much more visually interesting because it's such a specific green, and then the brown. And I think it's the way they're offsetting each other. So it has this very specific look. And that is the primary reason you'd watch it. The story is pretty straightforward. So the story, it's essentially a murder mystery for all intents and purposes. And I think the thing that got this, the code violation is they mentioned cannibalism. The killer is a cannibal. So that's why it would be considered a pre-code.
No, can't have that.
Well, it does say themes such as murder, rape, cannibalism. Oh, yeah, there's prostitution. Yeah. Yep. So the rape thing is very, very lightweight. That's a lot of inference. There is no rape scene whatsoever, but that I remember. I don't think they ever mentioned rape. But I do find it funny when we get to the section where I have the explanation of each of the characters, what they consider voyeurism, which I'll get to because it's hilarious, because this is obviously a very 30s view of voyeurism or sexual perversion. That's voyeurism. So the movie starts out and we see, essentially a full moon, and there's this reporter, and the reporter is a strange character.
Oh, dude, the way they try to almost be like, ooh, werewolf, but like it's not werewolves at all, is it?
No. What it is just as wacky, but it's not werewolves. So we start off and there's a reporter, and he's like a comic relief character. He seems, I think it's the tone of the time. This is one of those things where almost like with like foreign horror films where there's a lot of comedy in it. I think this is of that type of thing where he's this bumbling boob of a character who seems completely out of place in a movie that's otherwise deadly serious. And so it's almost a parody, like something, again, I mentioned Mel Brooks a lot of times. This is almost like a Mel Brooks character that's in this movie, but he's not, it's just the way they play him. In fact, you'll hear it when he talks at some point, because I have, the first clip has him going, "Look out the moon, will you? Look out the window, will you?" And it's like I think the way they did movies in the 30s, or the way this performance was done. So he's looking around and he notices that there's a local, coroner's office. And the coroner's office has a cop outside, and they're loaning bodies, and he goes up and he's trying to get in there, and the cop's like, "Hey, beat it. This isn't a place for reporters." And so the whole movie, he's just trying to figure out what's going on to break the story. And so after the cops kind of toss him and tell him to get lost, he calls in to the night desk, and we get a bit of an explanation as to what's going on. This has already been going on, so I'm going to play this clip.
"Hello, world. Give me the night desk, please." "Yeah." "Willard Keefe." "Yeah, this is Lee Taylor. I'm down at the Mott Street morgue. Just now, they bring in the body of an old scrub woman murdered under very peculiar circumstances. No, they won't let me see it. I can't get any dope. Police? Oh, very good. I say very... What? I say I can't get any dope on it. Police orders. Just now, Stevens, O'Halloran, and a guy named Dr. Xavier arrived. Something's doing.
Yeah, I've heard that one, too.
Listen, you lunkhead, I'm not clowning. Look out the window, will you?
Tell him to hurry. What do you mean? The moon?
Certainly I mean the moon. I'm laying $10 to a dime. It's another moon killer murder.
Well, that's different. Now, listen, Lee. Stick right on it.
Why?
Right. So where he's like, look out the window. Like, that's
Hold
the
on.
whole...
Was he saying Dr. Xavier?
Yes. They all call him Xavier. Everybody pronounces it that way. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Xavier. I think they pronounce it Xavier. I think that's what they're trying to say it as. Yeah, it's strange. There's a lot of strange accents in this, which I actually love about it. Everybody talks in a very specific way, which I don't know if that's the way these people actually talked or if it's an affectation of the era or what. But they all talk in this very weird way.
Dr. Xavier, see? Yeah.
I just like, look out the window. Like, they play him as such a buffoon that I don't know if that's a setup for the very end where he becomes the heroic character and it works, but he's such a boob. Literally, it's the only word I can think of for this type of character that it's almost a joke. But anyway, so there's been these murders and they've all taken place when there's a full moon. And so that's what he's explaining. So as the movie starts, we're on the 6th murder, I think he says, or the 6th person is dead or whatever. So it's been going on and they don't know what's happening. So they set him up as the reporter who's trying to figure out what's going on. So that's his arc in the film. And then we go inside the morgue where Dr. Xavier is there and he's talking to the cops, and we get this. This is a bit of back and forth with him and the police, including the lead investigator who thinks he has a theory on what's going on.
Just a moment, Doctor, if you don't mind. There's one thing more.
Very well, sir.
Yes, what? Now, look here, Doctor. This is the 6th murder in the same number of months. All committed in the full of the moon with no apparent motive. By means of strangulation and an incision with a strange surgical knife.
Yes, it is peculiar, isn't it?
Most peculiar. What's your theory of the killer, Doctor?
A neurotic, of course. Some poor devil suffering from a fixation.
Fixation? What do you mean?
A knot or kink tied in the brain by some past experience. A madness that comes only at certain times when the killer is brought in direct contact with some vivid reminder of the past.
It's hard to believe that.
Yes, for a policeman, I suppose it is. But I tell you that locked in each human skull is a little world all its own.
Yes? Well, what would these reminders be, for instance?
Anything. The sight of the sea, the full moon. Anything. And the poor devil, sane at all other times, is forced to live over the scene, the action that first drove him mad.
Very interesting. Particularly in view of the fact that all these murders occur in the vicinity of your medical academy.
Are you implying that someone in my academy could have done this?
I'm convinced of it.
This is preposterous. I spent 26 years building up my institution to its present high standard. I'm familiar with the character of every student and professor, and they're all men of the highest integrity. There are other academies in the state.
But they don't have that kind of knives. The surgical supply house swear they import them from Vienna, especially for your institute. It's the only place in the country that they're used.
Commissioner Stevens, if you jump at a hasty conclusion like this, you'll ruin the integrity of an institution that has one of the finest reputations in the world.
I'm sorry, Doctor, but I have to start an investigation. I tell you this first because I'm hoping for your cooperation. Naturally, I shall do everything to protect your institution.
But the newspapers, the publicity.
Don't worry about them. We don't want publicity any more than you do.
If my academy is under suspicion, give me a chance to conduct an investigation of my own first. Surely with our knowledge of the human brain, we have every facility to catch a madman.
Well, how would you proceed?
By immediately studying the pathological reactions of every man placed under suspicion. Then, trap the guilty one by a brain examination.
May I examine the records of your students and faculty?
Why, assuredly. You can come to my office now if you wish, but I beg of you, no publicity, please.
Now, I didn't capture it, but even the words...
What is the accent on that guy?
I don't know.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, the doctor.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Man.
There's a lot of
it's very smooth.
And I should have captured the way he says scalpel. I think he says scalpel. He says like scalpel. He's like, everything is pronounced really oddly. And again, I don't know.
Who's the actor? What's that character's name?
Xavier or Xavier. So that's Lionel Atwill. He was an English stage and screen actor. Yeah. He's Dr. Jerry Xavier, which Jerry Xavier is such a funny name. It's so odd. But yeah, that's what it says.
Who's the officer investigating?
Oh, the officer, that guy. I think that was Police Commissioner Stevens, Robert Warwick, American.
Really? Yeah.
Born.
He's got an interesting. A lot of interesting voices in this.
But the way he talks is very much the era. I've watched enough of these movies. That's how the police talk. But when he says scalpel, I almost didn't know what he said. I was like, whoa. And I put the captions on. It's scalpel. So again, I don't know if at the time how they said the word scalpel.
This movie came out in 1932, right?
Yeah, 32.
This movie's over 100 years old.
Yeah, no. Well, no, it's not. It's 90. It's not 2032. It's 90.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I got the numbers
close,
backwards.
though.
Yeah, 1932, not 23. Yes, it's 90. Yeah.
But still, 90.
I mean, that's 90 years old.
90,
Think
sorry,
about
90.
that.
My
It's
math
like you're
is
looking
great.
at a different era.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of this, I just kind of went, okay, it's just what it is. I mean, there's things that are obvious of the era because there's a point where his daughter at the very end is on a table and one of the doctors is like, I wouldn't let my daughter on a table with only wearing a nightgown. Scandalous. It's like, okay, don't watch music videos.
The scandal.
Right. So basically what he does is, as you heard, he says to the inspector, well, let me try to figure out who it is, but I'll take you to my school. I'll introduce you to the professors and scientists who work there, which is only a few that are always there. In fact, the officer says something about the fact that they're there this time of night, and he says, well, they're research scientists. They live for their work. They never leave. So they all go over to the institute, Xavier's School for Xavier's School for Professors.
Xavier's School for Gifted Children.
Exactly. And so he then takes them to each of the offices for each of these characters. And the main doctors, the main characters are Wells, Haynes, they just call him Duke. I think it's supposed to be Professor Dr. Duke, which is just a funny name. Rowitz, and then there's his assistant whose name is Otto, who almost seems like he's an Igor character. And then there's a woman whose name escapes me. What is her name? Oh, Mamie, so they're like the people who work there as the caretakers or the house staff, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. And then his daughter, Joanna, is also there. So that's basically the whole movie, and the reporter is who we see. And so what we get is a series, and what they do very well is in the movie, there are things visually that are done that make you suspect everyone who's not a cop. So including Xavier himself, they do little things where you're sitting there going, is he the killer? The way they react to the moon, like everybody has certain reactions or certain tics about them so that you have everybody under suspicion. The only people who really are never under suspicion are the daughter. Daughter always comes across as a normal person.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Did you ever watch early Scooby-Doo?
Yes. Oh, yes. This is where that stuff is pulled from. That's what I'm
saying. Early Scooby-Doo pulls on this shit.
Oh, the character of Rowitz, however they pronounce it, if you look at him, he looks like an animated Scooby-Doo character. Without a doubt, there were probably inspired things off him. I mean, he looks... Let me find him, because you've got to see this guy. I mean, he looks guilty on sight. And especially with all the green, like everybody looks sinister. Which is what's great about them. That's you don't. Okay, here, look at this friggin' image. Even on a small low res, you'll get this right away. That's what I like about it, because you genuinely don't know for a very long time who.
Oh my Lord!
I mean, look at that guy. You'll hear him too. He's great.
Jeez, yeah.
And he's got a hell of an accent. Oh, it's not an eye patch. I think he's supposed to be blind in one eye, and instead of you wear glasses with the one lens blackened. It's a monocle.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and he's got a scar running down the whole side of his face.
Jeez, yeah. So he didn't do it.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying is everybody is under suspicion.
He's just too obvious.
Yeah, right. Well, you don't because everybody has. I mean, his visuals are a little bit more than everybody else, but not by much. Everybody comes off as weird and possibly psychotic, so it's fine. So Xavier then takes the commissioner and his, lieutenant, and he goes to each office for each person. And so I'm going to play each clip of that so you get a little flavor of each of these people. So we'll start off with Dr. Wells.
I'm sorry to disturb you, Professor Wells, but I would like to introduce some friends of mine. May we come in?
Of course, gentlemen. Come in. Come closer.
This is Mr. Stevens, Mr. O'Halloran. Professor, how do you do?
How do you do?
That's interesting, isn't it?
This experiment is successful. We will be a little nearer the secret of life.
What is that?
That's a heart. I've kept it alive for 3 years by electrolysis.
Electrolysis. Professor Wells has accomplished some remarkable findings in nerve reflexes.
You flatter me, Doctor.
Oh, no.
I understand, Professor, that you live just for your work, that you seldom leave the Institute.
Not necessarily. I played truant a short while ago. I was down by the waterfront for a breath of air.
What time was that?
You're not feeling well? Your arm is troubling you?
Yes, it's very annoying.
Well, you're foolish to sit there in discomfort.
If you gentlemen don't mind,
Why, of course not, of course not.
I put it on just as I heard you coming. An empty sleeve is refolding to most people.
Well, I think we've taken up enough of Professor Wells' time.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Professor.
Well, gentlemen, shall we be going? Many other interesting things to see.
Yes, just be going.
Good night. Good night. Thank you for calling.
Right. So Wells has a human heart that he's stimulating. So he's essentially a play on Frankenstein, where, so, and he's got this, he does look somewhat sinister. So immediately, if you heard, he said, "Oh, I went down to the waterfront." And the guy's like, "What time?" Because he sees you see in the movie that there's a pair of boots that look like they have mud from down by the waterfront. So he's suspicious until he says, "Oh, let me remove my arm," because the police had said, well, whoever strangled these individuals had powerful hands, and he's missing his left hand. So he takes it off, and that's why you then hear the chief, the commissioner immediately goes, "Oh, well, I think we've
you're
taken
good.
you're fine."
Yeah.
Right. So immediately he's out of the running because they've determined that this killer has very powerful hands. So then they go next to Dr. Haynes. Now, again, some of this, my explaining and even the clips do not do it justice, because the first silhouette you see of him, he looks like the devil because they've got him in profile and he has a long kind of beard that's not too long, but it's coming out to a point. And the way they styled his hair, it looks like he has little horns. And it's a really fascinating, again, is all this visual stuff to make you suspect everybody or wonder about them. They're all supposed to be a little bit off the beaten path. And so they go in and we get, this is a very brief exchange. There's a short clip, but this is Dr. Haynes.
Professor Haynes.
Oh, yes. Come in. Come in, Doctor.
I want you to meet Mr. Stevens and Mr. O'Halloran. They're making a tour of scientific investigation and intend to honor our academy for a short time.
How do you do, gentlemen?
I hope you're not disturbing you, Professor.
Not at all. I was just relaxing.
Professor Haynes is a most intensive worker. I've just been telling Mr. Stevens of your phenomenal experiments in brain grafting.
Oh, Doctor, come. I want to show you. I want to show you a new type of brain cell.
That should be interesting, Professor.
I'm sure you'll find it so.
On the slide?
Yes.
Now, when he says, "I was relaxing," as that happens, you see the police officers are looking at his desk, and one of them opens the book he was reading, and inside is, I guess, the 30s equivalent of a skin mag. It's basically just a woman in a skimpy nightgown. And that's why in the description for him, if you look on the Wikipedia, it says a sexual perversion with voyeurism. That apparently is what they interpret looking at a semi-nudie mag.
He likes himself the porn.
Yeah, there's nothing else in the movie that has anything to do with that. So I mean, that's all I can infer is that for the 30s, this was voyeurism, was looking at women in nightgowns. So, you know, that's why he's like, "Oh, I'm just relaxing." And there's a whole bit, but it doesn't, as a clip, it doesn't really translate, obviously, because you don't see what they're doing. But so they talk to him, and then they go to an office with two professors, which is Duke, who is in a wheelchair because his legs don't really work. They're mostly, you know, they twitch a little bit, but he can't support himself. And Dr. Rowitz, I think is how they pronounce it. And then we get this bit, and Rowitz is awesome. So here we go.
Are you busy, Dr. Rowitz?
Always, but it's a pleasure, gentlemen.
Oh, excuse me. Mr. Stevens, Mr. O'Halloran.
How do you do?
How are you?
Can I be of any service?
Well, we're just looking around, Doctor.
Oh, yes, of course.
Good evening, Professor Duke. How are you feeling tonight?
Horrible.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, if it makes you feel sorry to hear things like that, then don't ask questions.
Oh, Professor Duke, Mr. Stevens, Mr. O'Halloran.
How do you do?
He's Dr. Royd's collaborator.
You're an astronomer, Doctor?
Not that, sir. I have an interest in the light qualities of the moon. If you might suffer sunstroke, might you not suffer some similar evil from the rays of the moon?
Moonstruck, you mean?
Exactly. What we call lunacy, from the word luna, meaning the moon. Latin, you know. However, the lunar rays will never affect you or me, sir, because we are normal people.
Sure.
It affects strangely certain neurotic types. Yes, the moon is powerful. Why, twice a day it lifts billions of tons of water at high tide, and that wash the shores of the world like an eternal old scrub woman.
Like what?
Oh, pardon my poetic effort.
Yes, but just what do you mean by
I'm
that?
afraid we've taken up too much of Dr. Lloyd's time. Thank you, Doctor. That was very, very interesting.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night. Good night. You know, this is the doctor's particular hour for observation. And, well, the moon doesn't wait, you know.
So you may have picked up there that the police officer jumped right on the fact that he's
The moon
interested
thing,
in the
yeah.
moon, and that he said scrub woman because a scrub woman was the one who had just been killed. So they immediately suspect Rowitz because he's disfigured, because they say, well, they reported that he has a hideous face. And of course, to the 30s, having a scar on your face and a blackened monocle means you're horribly disfigured. So they say he's got to be him. And Xavier says, no. He's gentle. I can't believe it's him. He's like, and the doctor's like, well, we should just arrest him. And he says, no, he says, give me 48 hours to do my testing and see if I can catch them. That way I'll get you the person, I'll have proof, and there won't be any bad publicity. And they say, all right, you've got 2 days. That's it. And so he then convenes the group to basically propose a test that he's going to do. So this is their meeting because, when they met the police officers, they didn't know they were police officers. You never heard him say,
no, he said they're just coming to check out the place, essentially.
Right. So he did that undercover so that they would get, kind of an honest assessment. They wouldn't be suspicious or guarded for the police. And now he's enlightening the group as to what's going on.
I know you're all acquainted with these recent horrible murders. Moon killer murders, as the press calls them. Investigation has proven that in every case, the killer has made use of a surgical instrument, of a type to be found only in our academy.
But, Doctor...
One moment, please. Naturally, I prefer to believe that everyone in this room is innocent. But circumstances point to the conclusion that one of us may be guilty. Any one of us.
Confound it, Xavier. Bring us up here on a night like this? Why couldn't you told us this at the academy?
For a simple reason. I wish to conduct an investigation of my own, alone, quietly. And I want your help.
This lot Tommy rot.
Don't you realize what the publicity of a police investigation would mean to us?
What do you propose to do?
I want every one of you to submit to a psychoneurological test. An experiment that I have devised, which I hope will prove each one of us innocent.
But if it should prove otherwise?
Well, then, my dear doctor, surely one's own farewell to life is preferable to that demanded by the law.
This is preposterous. I refuse.
Good. And the police will give it to you.
Gentlemen, I consider it a privilege to have an opportunity of proving my innocence. Doctor, I am ready.
Thank you, Dr. Rowitz. Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Professor Duke?
I agree.
And you, Professor Haynes?
Well, if they all agree...
Good.
Oh, I think it's a lot of nonsense.
Gentlemen, I suggest you all retire to your rooms and unpack. In 10 minutes, we shall all meet in the laboratory.
Now, in between all this is the reporter trying to break into the place, and, he runs into the daughter, and there's a whole secondary plot where he and the daughter become romantically involved. Honestly, it's fine, but it's not the stuff that's interesting. So the main thrust of this is the fact that now that he's going to do this test on all of these men to see, because he agrees with the police commissioner that it is likely that the killer is there. It just because of the scalpel, they've determined that the only place that has gotten these custom-made knives is this academy. Therefore, even Xavier has to agree that, yes, it seems likely that the killer is here. And what's interesting is, and they don't really make much of this, but it's an interesting idea, is he even goes so far as to say, well, it could even be me. Maybe I'm doing this and I don't know. So he's going to be tested as well. He's going to conduct the first test with Wells helping him because Wells, because of the missing arm, is not under suspicion. So he and Wells will conduct the test at first, and then once he clears them all.
Did Wells do it then?
Well, yeah, Wells ended up being the guy, of course, but we'll get to that.
Okay, yeah, and that is the problem with movies of this age, is that it's the beginning of them really trying subterfuge on you. So like, it's never the guy you think it's going to be. It's the guy they automatically want you to be like, no, it can't possibly be this guy, so they can surprise you.
Well, and again, at this time, would audiences jump to that? I don't know, because again, and I'm not conveying this, and the clips don't necessarily, they do a very good job of making everybody seem suspicious. Everybody seems, because there's a point where you'll hear it in the clip where Duke says, close the windows, the moon, it's bothering me. He starts flipping out. And you see Xavier look at him when he's flipping out like, uh-oh, what does that mean? And Rowitz obviously is interested in the moon and, the sexual perversion, the fact that a guy likes to look at women in 90s. Oh, well, they're, maybe that's supposed to be, that's enough to make you a murderer.
He likes porn, therefore he must be able to kill.
Right. I mean, we're talking about a completely different moral and social structure. As you said, it's 90 years ago. So maybe this would have worked differently to the audience of the day. I don't know. But I do think even to a modern audience, yes, would your immediate suspicion? Well, it wouldn't, because when they get to Wells and what he's doing, it is way out there. Whereas most of this is somewhat grounded up until he starts doing this test. The test just seems like it's complete, Metropolis science fiction, like Fritz Lang type stuff. So then we get to the point where he's going to conduct a test, and I'll play this clip of him getting them ready and what the test is going to be.
Good heavens, Doctor. What have you done with your laboratory here? Nothing like it was on my last visit.
I made a few changes, that's all.
1,000, I should say.
Thermal tubes, eh?
A blood reaction by high-frequency current as well.
Dr. Xavier is still working on his theory that strong mental repressions, phobias hidden in the darkest corners of the subconscious mind, can be brought to the surface and made to register through certain reactions of the heart. Am I correct, Professor?
Precisely. And tonight I hope to prove my theory. Now, gentlemen, if you'll kindly be seated in these chairs, we'll begin the experiment.
Well, if we must, then let us get it over with quickly.
Dr. Royce, Mr. Haynes, and Professor Duke. And now, gentlemen, with your permission, Dr. Wells will assist you in clamping these contact wires to your wrists.
Are yours included?
As near the pulse as possible.
Certainly.
As near the pulse as possible. And see that the connections are tight. They'll be quite comfortable. Will you pardon me a moment, Doctor, as I attach the contact clamp? That's it. Thank you.
Did I have to come all the way down from the city to play guinea pig for you?
I'm sure you'll forgive me in just a few moments.
We're ready, Professor.
The moon. Perfect.
Just as though we'd ordered it.
Close those curtains. Give me the shivers. Moon shining right in my face.
No. Leave them alone.
Close them.
Shall I? All right. You may close them, Wells. Now listen, please, to what I have to say. One of us in this room may be a murderer. A murderer who kills by the light of a full moon, leaving his victim's body mutilated. A cannibal. Evidence shows the killer has two hands, therefore only Wells is eliminated. So I shall ask him to work the apparatus.
Wells? How about me? A hopeless paralytic.
Silence, please, Professor. Wells, will you take your place outside in the recording cabinet?
Yes, Doctor.
I'm going to leave you for a moment now while I check the variability of your blood reactions. I suggest that you remain silent during my absence.
If you ask me, I think Dr. Xavier is using very unethical methods.
Necessity has no ethics, sir.
That's Rowitz who says necessity has no ethics, sir, which I thought was a very interesting line. I like that one. So essentially they're all clamped in, and what he's going to do is he's going to recreate the circumstances of the murder to see if it stimulates a reaction in their brains. Now, this is all, vaguely explained, but essentially they all are sitting in these chairs. They're strapped in. They have these clamps on them that are measuring brain activity or electrical activity or whatever. And then they have these glass flasks that are over that go up behind the chair and over their heads. And so the idea is he's going to have Otto and Mamie recreate the murder and have them watch it. And then that will cause, it's almost like a Voight-Kampff for murderers, essentially, where it will reveal by their reaction who is the person that is like driven to mania or in I don't know, I guess excited by it or whatever. And so they do the test, and right as they recreate the murder, the power goes out, and there's a bunch of commotion and shouting. I mean, there's no point, I was going to clip it, but it's just a lot of yelling and stuff getting knocked over, honestly. And you see Xavier, I keep saying I want to call him Xavier. Xavier runs up to one of the tubes and says, I see it. There's red liquid in it. The murderer is Rowitz. At which point you hear a scream, and sure enough, Rowitz is dead, stabbed in the back of the head with one of the surgical scalpels. And so Xavier starts running around looking for Wells, and you see Wells come crashing through a window, and he says, the lights went out. I heard somebody yell my name, and somebody hit me over the head and knocked me through the door. And, you know, what we find out later, he did it to himself to throw suspicion off of himself. So he threw himself through the window right as Xavier was coming up to him to kind of keep up the idea that it's not him. And so, and in the meantime, the reporter has been snooping around and found out what's going on and published a story about it. And so the cops are getting ready to just come in. And he's like, yep, you can't have your 48 hours. And he says, let me run one more test. I'm convinced it will work. I just need to do one more test. And the cops are like, all right, well, we're coming. Do your test, but we're going to show up. And so he's like, all right. So he gets them together and does another test. And as he's doing the test, the woman, Mamie, is so frightened by the fact that the power went out and that somebody got killed that she refuses to do it. She won't do the test. And so Xavier says, all right, I'll let my daughter do it. And so the daughter is standing in for Mamie as the victim. And that's where the line about, I don't think it's in the clip. I don't think that's there because I think it happens before. But when that happens, we then see Wells kind of sneak off right before the test. And he goes into this room. And in this room, he has this hand that's like a monster hand. And he puts it on. And he starts talking about the fact that he has created a form of synthetic flesh.
So it's an organic hand?
Well, he calls it synthetic flesh. I don't know what it's supposed to be. And then he starts putting it on his face, and he transforms himself into essentially a goblin. I don't know what else to describe it as, but he looks like a monster. And he's talking about the fact that this synthetic flesh has allowed him to have his hand back. And so then the test is going on, and he basically knocks out Otto and enters the test. And then we get this where Joanna realizes that it's not Otto, that it is in fact the actual killer. And then we get this as kind of the explanation of what's going on.
The killer! The killer! Put him up, Joan! Wells! Otto! Wells!
You idiots! Calling for Wells? It'll do you no good. There isn't any Wells. Look, the keys. Well, take them.
It's Wells.
Wells! Yes, it is Wells, but a new Wells. A Wells whose name will live forever in the history of science.
Oh, run, John! Run! John! Get up, run! The keys! The keys! The keys! Look at his hand, horrible!
Yes, look at it. Real hand. It's alive. It's flesh. Synthetic flesh. For years, I've been searching to find the secret of a living, manufactured flesh, and now I found it. Think I went to Africa to study cannibalism? I went there to get samples of the human flesh that the natives eat. Yes, that's what I needed. Living flesh from humans for my experiments. What difference did it make if a few people had to die? Their flesh taught me how to manufacture arms, legs, faces that are human. I'll make a crippled world whole again. Doctor, your name will be remembered. You've given your life, everything to science. All but one thing. And now, you're going to give even that to science. Your daughter. Oh, if only I would have power this here and change it. Run!
Right, so the reason they're screaming and yelling is because they're all chained into the chairs for the test. That's why they're sitting there and they can't do anything about it. But in the background, so that's the explanation of what he's doing, is he says, I'll make a crippled world whole. So clearly what his idea is he actually is missing his hand, and if he can figure this thing out with enough, I guess, people's skin, then he can recreate every body part and nobody has to be crippled anymore. So, it's the sort of the classic. He's gone insane in the pursuit of what you would think is a noble goal. And, the fact that he makes himself look like a monster should be somewhat of an indicator that he's not.
Well, yeah, if you have to make yourself look like a monster, then you've maybe made a wrong turn.
Right. So right then, in the background, there were these wax figures, and one of them was the reporter just standing still, trying to figure out what was going on. And so he tackles Wells and knocks him down, drags him out to the hallway, throws a lamp at him, which sets him on fire, and then kicks him through a window. And we get a really impressive thing of a flaming person falling down a cliffside, hitting the bottom, dying. And then the very end is the reporter and the daughter saying, well, that was a hell of an adventure. Now let's go away and we'll become a couple. And it goes, da, 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 and it ends because, movies like this didn't necessarily have nuanced endings.
No, they don't,
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. I mean, that's the movie. It's relatively straightforward. It's, I think it's about an hour and 20, maybe 76 minutes. So that's hour 16. So yeah, a little under an hour 20. Again, the story is not anything that to a modern audience is going to knock your socks off. You'll figure it out. Obviously, you did right away. Yes, it's Wells because he's the one that's eliminated from suspicion. But that's not really why you're watching the movie. You're watching the movie because it's gorgeous in a way that no modern movie looks anymore. It just has this very unique look. It's the exaggerated performances. It's just the idea of this is a movie that is of a different time, of a different era. It doesn't have anything horribly offensive, which is a nice change. There's nothing that's, horribly racist.
But the voyeurism, man, the voyeurism.
Yeah, there's some kink shaming in it, but even for that, it's pretty lightweight. It's
kink shaming.
Well, that's what they call it now. That's the idea of if you make fun of somebody's sexual proclivities, it's kink shaming. So there's a little bit of that, but even that is lightweight enough, and you can just chalk it up to the ignorance of the time. But it doesn't come across as horribly mean. It just comes up as, at this time. I mean, when you see there's one part where the daughter's on the beach with the reporter, and her bathing suit is hilarious. It's basically a dress. And again, this is because it's 90 years ago, and she's wearing a dress and like shorts underneath. So, but even her legs were probably scandalous for the time. You could see that much of her legs was probably
ankles.
Men,
you can't see the ankles.
It probably set audiences jerking off in bathrooms around the world because that was as much as you saw on screen, I'm sure. But again, it avoids a lot of the problems that some of these movies have, because they can get a little bit bad when it comes to certain things in a modern context. So, but you're really watching it because the visuals are just so interesting. And the performances are very heightened. And I don't know if that's because of the time and that's how acting was. I have a feeling it was that they were, they acted very large because this was still a new medium.
Because it's based off a play.
Well, I don't think it's the play necessarily. Well, yes, I guess, but all cinema, you're right, would be based off theatrics.
But think about it, early cinema was basically transducing theater to a recording.
Right. So yes, you're correct.
So they were overacting, they were making it big, they were projecting their voices. It isn't till later on and better camera technology. And the fact that TV's been around, so you have a ton of people who've been raised on TV and movies rather than theater, right?
Sure.
That you start to get a more natural vision of people.
Well, also, I don't know how they were recording it. I assume because you can hear the sound at times is very rough, so it's probably one mic without much, sophistication that they were getting. In the big shots, in the close-up stuff, the sound's pretty good, probably because they had a mic right underneath the camera frame. But in the big rooms, when they're shouting, I mean, it just becomes. There was one clip I wanted to pull, but it's so just shouty that you almost can't make out what's going on. You need the visuals for it to make sense. So yeah, I think you're right. And they probably were. This is another thing too, is it's not like now where sets are mostly virtual. And so you only need a small amount and then they fill the rest in with green screen. They were building these sets. These are huge, echoey, cavernous. I mean, when you see some of these sets, they are immense. And so in there, the sound's not going to be great because it's bouncing off everything. And I'm sure they really didn't. You can only dampen things so much when you're in a huge room, especially the one that's like the lab where it's just this huge space. So, but again, none of that matters. It's really about the visuals. The visuals are the thing to watch this for because it has this otherworldly, very surrealistic look to it. Stuff that now people still do, but this was done by a process of shooting a certain type of film and then making these colors this way. And there's just nothing like it because it's it's just different than the way they do it in effects now. It has this real otherworldly glow to it. Everything just has this very alien feel, or this very sinister, weird. And they use things that are specifically keyed for, I think, using these colors. There's this glassware they use at different points that with the green, it just becomes, it almost looks like it's made of translucent jade. I'm sure it wasn't, but it looks like it. And it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just gorgeous to look at. And again, if you're into, if you're okay with the kind of over-the-top acting, it's delightful because it is people going, oh, professor, like talking like that, which is great. And everybody's, it like you said, it's theater and like, big performances and all that stuff works for me. So I
Scooby-Doo.
love it. Yeah, it is. It is Scooby-Doo without any of the goofiness. Or at least without the intentional goofiness, I guess I should say. And like you said, it's on YouTube. I watched it on Criterion, which was a very, very nice, crisp picture. So I don't know if YouTube will be as... And this is one of those cases where if you're watching it for these visuals, try to watch it in the best format you can because you'll see it the best. That glow is really rich and interesting and deep and vibrant. YouTube, I don't know if it's going to come across as well. But, I don't know how many people will actually watch this, so maybe it's a moot point. But I thought it was great. I'm okay with these older movies when they have something like this that's interesting.
It's highly acclaimed. I mean, it's not like this is a bad movie.
No, and I think a lot of that is because of these visuals, and they are really just very striking and, again, unique. Even in a modern context, I can't think of something else that's really quite like this. I just don't know, because even modern ones don't look like this. Even if they're trying to do like high contrast, high color, they're not as. This is both simple and extraordinarily beautiful at the same time because it's a limited process, but they pushed it as far as they could, and that gives it this unique identity that I don't know that a lot of movies have. I would be curious to look at other films made with this process and see.
This movie is?
Yeah.
This movie, from the sounds of it, is kind of like your e-ink device, right?
Oh,
or at least
yeah,
this is
the
in the respect that your e-ink device is using e-ink on top of what is essentially a color system, right? So if they tried to make that movie today, they would essentially film it normal and then create that effect through computer trickery, right? But this movie is an e-ink device that is e-ink all the way through because it was made with that kind of lighting through the very filming process, right?
Right, yeah, they used, so I did find a thing on how it's done.
This is a true e-ink of a device that is e-ink all the way through to the camera.
So what they did, I'll explain. Yeah, this is actually very similar. The Technicolor camera for Process 3 was identical for Process 2, simultaneously photographing 2 consecutive frames of a black and white film behind a red and green filter. In the lab, the Matrix films were soaked in dye baths of colors nominally complementary to those of the camera filters. The strip made from red filtered frames was dyed cyan green, and the strip from the green filtered frames was dyed orange red. So apparently they inverted the. I mean, that's what I mean is.
It's very cool sounding.
I'm sure somebody, like if somebody like George Lucas or let's say Scorsese or Spielberg said, I want to make a movie like this, they would. But that's all. Anybody else can do it digitally.
The problem is you need like film chemists to be able to develop this. And I don't know if we have those kinds of film chemists today anymore.
Yeah, and they said that the process wasn't economically sound, so that's why they gave up on it. They didn't do this for very long. It was not done very much. And so even some of the prints, this was thought to be lost. And they ended up finding it. And then, like I said, Lucas backed restoring it. So the first thing you see is, I think it says Lucas Family Film Reproduction or something comes up right at the beginning of this. So, I don't know that anybody outside of somebody who really loved the process would even do it today. I don't know. I'd have to look to see if anybody else has done it in a modern film just to, revive the process. But again, it's just something that's, like you said, it's very niche. Would most people watch it and get what I got out of it? Probably not. But if you're somebody who likes this stuff or you're into, again, unique visuals of the time, I would say find it however you can watch it. It's entertaining enough. It's short enough. It's not even 90 minutes. So it's not like going to be sitting there for 3 hours with a story that's extraordinarily simple. it blows right through. About the only part that might annoy some people is the reporter's buffoonery does seem like it's out of a different movie, but it's never to the point where it derails it. It's more like, okay, this just seems like such a weird character, because there's a part where he gets trapped in a closet with a bunch of like medical skeletons, and one of them kind of moves every time he shifts on his seat, so he starts like singing along and clapping with it.
You know what? Actually, it doesn't really surprise me, because I mean, isn't the age of like Buster Keaton? Like,
no, it makes sense from the era. But what I'm saying is, if you cut that out of this movie and made it, let's say, 40 minutes long, it would be a masterpiece, because it would just be the visuals. It would just be the visuals. I mean, you need them for the end, so you can't cut them out entirely. But you could edit that character out quite a bit, and you lose nothing out of the movie. And instead, you get this really atmospheric kind of a whodunit, where even if, yes, you guessed that it's Wells, and I thought the same thing. I went, okay, well, it's got to be him, because they're ruling him out. But then the other characters acted so weird that I thought, well, maybe it's not just him. Maybe he's got an accomplice. Maybe it's two people. You know, one is doing the killing and Wells is helping somehow or something. And I wasn't really sure. And then it turned out to be him. And you know, the backstory was psychotic and out there and everything else, and that was fine. And I didn't care. But like I said, you are correct. It is the Box Palma of film. For the right person, this will be I loved it. I was so just enriched by those visuals. I loved it. Enraptured, not enriched. I was just like,
well, you can feel enriched by seeing it.
Well, yeah, I was. But in other words, the visuals sold me right away. Even if the movie had sucked, I still would have liked watching it just to see this process, because I don't think I've ever watched anything else that's this. Like the two-color. I don't think I've ever seen another Technicolor two-strip movie. Not that I don't know anything else that looks like this. So if I did, I don't remember it, and I'm pretty sure I haven't. I don't think there were a ton of them made to begin with. So, and some of them were probably like musicals.
And to have it also not be a shitty movie, that goes a long way too.
Yeah, because I am entertained by these over-the-top performances.
You know,
I love the weird
that
accents and
that black and white movie they made. It's like the animated movie where the whole thing is black and white. It's very stark looking. They had Daniel Craig do the voice for it.
Oh, yeah, Renaissance. Yes,
Renaissance.
Great movie.
Right.
Great movie.
I like that movie. But the thing with Renaissance is, story-wise, there's a lot of cool stuff to it, but
it's straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a beautiful movie.
But you're not watching it for the story. You're watching it because they did the harshest contrast, stark black and white, like
exactly.
No grays.
And it's rare to get a movie that is both amazing story, like a really incredible story, and also have it be visually stunning to look at. I mean, the reason I was going on at Baldur's Gate 3 is for the fact that technologically it's amazing, and storytelling wise it's amazing. It's rare that you get all that lined up.
Yeah, they can't all be Ghost in the Shell and Akira, to use the animated.
There you go. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I mean about Freedom, right? I like Project Freedom, but it's not anything in terms of story. It's all about the visuals. That's the same thing. So yes, the guy who made Akira also made Project Freedom. If I want to tell you which one is the masterpiece, I don't even have to think about it. But when I say watch both of them, sure. Just don't expect Project Freedom to blow the doors off in terms of story. It's very straightforward and simple. But that's not why you're watching it. You're watching it because you want to see this type of art style done in a modern way, because, you know, there's computer graphics and they do them very well in Project Freedom. That's what makes it great, is they integrate it very, very well. Kind of what they did with Ghost in the Shell, where the computer stuff is very well integrated when it happens. Unlike, say, well, I guess, people find charm in the first Go-Go 13 movie. I don't know. That chopper sequence is so rough. I don't know that I would say it's charming, but that's subjective. But in any event, Dr. X, very, very entertaining for the right person. And like I said, it is on YouTube. So if you want to get a flavor of it and see if if you're on the fence, sure, watch a few minutes of it on YouTube. Watch the first 10 minutes. And if you can stand the first 10 minutes or you actually enjoy it, then I would say try to find a good copy of it, because since so much of its power is the visuals, try to see the best version of the visuals you can. I don't know if it's available to rent or anything. Like I said, I know it's on Criterion. Let me see if it's on anything else, just in case anybody is interested. Let's see. Can you rent it anywhere? Okay, yes, you can rent it on Prime for $3.20. I would say that's definitely worth it. Now, let me just make sure that it's not the black and white version, because I would say you want to watch this in color. How do they not have a preview image for it? If it's in black and white, no. Don't watch this. I mean, I'm sure it would still be okay, but I can't even imagine this movie without color because the color is so much of what makes it special. So I would say the only thing I would tell you is don't watch it in black and white. Watch it in color. Even less than HD color is still going to be better than the black and white. I think in black and white it would frankly be very ordinary. I don't know that it would have half of the appeal. So,
why did they release it in black and white then?
At the time,
yeah,
the Technicolor was reserved for big cities with wealthy people, and the peasants got to watch black and white. And then because there were so few prints, and I think that's why it was reserved. It was expensive to make this stuff. So those prints were reserved for the big cities where they could get the most money. And then because there were so few prints, they thought that it was gone. They thought they were lost. And so the black and white was all over the place. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure, it's still probably for the time a good movie for black and white because, Fay Wray was in it, and that's not a no-name person. Like, she became huge, of course, with King Kong and everything later. But I think that because there were so few prints, that was where they thought, well, it's gone. And then somebody found one and they were able to restore it, which is great because, again, I think anybody who only saw it in black and white, I think it would be a completely different experience to see it in color. I really do think it's transformative. Yeah, I think that's why, is because they didn't make so many of them, because you had to, as far as I understand it, I could be wrong, you would have to make one of these prints to go wherever you want it to go.
It is a physical chemical process.
Yeah.
You have to develop it, and you have to get it right and not fuck it up, and then you have one copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much you could duplicate. I don't know. I don't know it doesn't sound like it's easy. Let's put it that way. It's not as simple as duping a CD is today.
You couldn't duplicate it. And I'm pretty sure you'd have to then do the process all over again with another fresh.
Right.
That's
what it sounds like.
But this is the edge of my my knowledge of 1930s film development.
Well, but also, as you said, at the time, cinema was still relatively new. So it's not like today where duplication is a pretty easy process. Forget not even saying digital, but even film, as time went on, it became easier to duplicate film and be able to figure it out. You could replicate it. Something like this, which was using an innovative process to begin with, the amount of people who probably knew how to duplicate it, if it could be duplicated, could not have been a large pool of people. So, like I said, it's not a general audience type of film. Go watch a little bit of it on YouTube in color. See if it appeals to you. If it does, go find a good copy of it. Because I do think for that audience member, whoever would want to see something like this, it is worth seeing. Anybody else, watch a little bit of it, go, oh yeah, the colors are cute, and move on, and that's fine. But I'm really glad I watched it. This is, again, why, of all the streaming services, I love Criterion the most, because it keeps showing me stuff like this that I would not find anywhere else. I just adore Criterion in every way. They are essentially the Logitech of film, where I'm like, yep, I like all their stuff. They keep putting good stuff in front of me. They've taken over for Prime Video does that for junk. Criterion does it for actual good stuff that is of a high quality. Don't get me wrong. The junk is high quality in terms of entertainment, but it's not like it's actual well-made film. I understand that. That's okay. It's two different types of entertainment, and I have two different poll stars I can go by. So in any event, that's it. That's our show. Go find Dr. X on YouTube. I would recommend it. Box Palma, fascinating device if you want to try it out. And Baldur's Gate, we say the same thing everybody else really does, which is, yeah, it's a great game. So if you're at all interested, you should play it. And on that note, enjoy your weekend, whatever you do. We'll talk to you next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.